Do it this way. She don't love you like the way that she says she does. She's free 10 days. She don't wanna mess with your love, and I want you, need you, wanna hold you, caress you. So trust me with your heart, 'cause baby, my love goes on and She's not like me. She don't really care for your heart. She's just like the other girls that you tried, and I know you need to be loved. So true, so trust me with your heart, 'cause baby, my love goes on and I can love you, I can love you better than she can. I can love you, I can love you, I can love you better than she
I'm affiliated with the folks. I'm affiliated with the Lords. I'm affiliated with the Stones. I'm affiliated with the Fours. I'm affiliated with the Bloods. I'm affiliated with the Crips. I'm affiliated with the Thugs. To be affiliated with the shit, I'm affiliated. 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 I grew up in the streets and met some real niggas trying to find something to eat, and met some real bitches trying to find something to free. Got the plug on the weed, the G got the plug on the heat, the beats. Now we charging niggas for fee. We couldn't get free for nothing. Now it's nothing for free. We used to get weed for hundreds. Now we sell hundreds of weed. Used to keep heat in the house. Now we keep heat under the seat. Tripping come from under the seat. Put your bitch ass under a sheet. Bitch, I'm from the G. We moved the nap and got the plug. Now we thugging the peace. We got that bag and now we laughing to come to the beat. These bitches used to swear to God they wouldn't fuck us for free. And now these hoes dying trying to suck us to sleep. Get your yay outside, run around with that K outside. Back when you can play outside, my niggas will stay outside. It's no on my grave I ride. Every motherfucking day I grind. To the motherfucking day I die. Disrespect the way that I'm affiliated. 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 I'm affiliated with the folks. I'm affiliated with the Lords. I'm affiliated with the Stones. I'm affiliated with the Fours. I'm affiliated with the Bloods. I'm affiliated with the Crips. I'm affiliated with the Thugs. I'm affiliated with the shit. I'm affiliated. I'm affiliated.
The man is not allowed to fly a plane in his own country, but you want to convince the world that this man is not only a threat to his neighbors, but he is a threat to the entire human family. You are a liar. liar. And the people are intellectual cowards who sit down and suck up this filthy lie.
Man, I've been rapping for a minute, I don't see how niggas hate on me. Swab Boss the greatest, motherfuckers should wait on it. Even if my album drops 10 years from now, nigga, it's gonna be the hardest album out 10 years from now, nigga. The Swab Boss, you niggas should see that shit. Whatever I am in the old niggas should be that shit. Whatever they say they gon' come, I don't agree with it. Just add a couple of my hoes and come to be with it. Man, it's Swab Boss. The reason why these niggas get hard off if 100 niggas die. First cost is a small cost. I'm trying to get my people on their feet again, nigga. But I'm back smoking weed, drinking Hennessy, nigga. And maybe that's why I'm not back on my shit. It's why I bought some 2-6 and moved out to the place. Hooked up with people from Phil. Now we know we love shit. Now they know they should quit trying to make it hood rich. All that bullshit on your mind, oh, I wish you would spit. Niggas know what I'm about, and they wish I would flip. Niggas ask about a track, they wanna hear that shit. But when I ask to do a track, they don't hear that shit, man. And that's the type of shit that I don't say, man. Niggas know from the go that I don't play, man. Coming straight from the street, no, I can't straight, man. They ain't fucking with him, 'cause he don't pay, man.
Why are the Europeans so insecure about other people in the world? And why do you, after everywhere you go, you're gonna kill and murder the rest of the people of the human family? Your history is written in the blood of the black, the brown, the yellow, and the red. Why are you so insecure? Do you know what brings about insecurity? What brings about insecurity is when you have a false concept of yourself. And the false concept of self is white supremacy.
They believe they are better because they are white.
And as a result, see, when a man has that kind of silly mentality, Hitler had the silly mentality that the white man, the Aryan, is superior. So then at the Olympics, Jesse Owens kicks up all the Aryans. Hitler is outraged. He's angry.
That's very simplistic.
Yeah. Well, you need it to be simplistic. You need it to be extra simplistic.
You see, they can't even take
The reality, I know they can't handle. You know, look, when you take a brick, and you hurl the brick among a pack of dogs, only the dog who gets hit yelps. Think about it.
Man, what's up, fam? It's the boy Swab Boss. You already know what it is, man. Shout out to Bingo on the track, Z on the cam. That's stepping off, fam. Shout out to Solar Mind, the commissioner, Solar Vision Debate League. Blinkley Dinkley. This commissioner, Solar Vision Debate League, the greatest debate league on earth, hands down. You will not find it a better place to debate on YouTube at all. At all. There's not a channel out there right now putting together an all-star cast. Shout out to Alonzo Hall, the all-star advisor. An all-star cast of debaters. From religious to political to historical to pseudo. Put them together on a schedule for a season with stats and run-ins and rankings and fucking awards, titles, a whole playoff, first round, division round, conference round, finals, trophies, MVP, champ, people's champ, Shucklebug champ, opening, closing, premise, rebuttal champ. You will not find a place on YouTube that reps so goddamn hard for debate. And we're black. So that's always a plus. So the mentality around here will bring conversations and discussions that we give a fuck about. Of course, not 100% of debates to be something that you would love. personally. Every now and then we get into a flat earth. Every now and again we get into a fucking aliens debate, UFOs, the Quran, the Bible, fucking book of coming forth by day and night, Brett and Maru. But this is a place where you come, even as the people. You jump in the chat, you talk your shit, you get acknowledged, you get shit talked to you. You love that. And if you want to enter the league, all you got to do is email SolarMind. It's solarmind123@gmail.com. You end up right on that panel, getting interviewed, end up getting hounded by some of the premium debaters. And then you get to talk your shit as an SVDL member. Shout out to Midtown Pookie. Shout out to Alonzo. Shout out to Ed Green 101. It amazes me how many people spell Suave S-A-U-V-E. I never knew it. I never knew it. I don't even notice the difference no more. Yeah, but shout out to the fam, man. Y'all already know. It's the boy Suave Boss. We in this bitch. I ain't doing nothing, man. Hold on. The Zoom link is out there. You already know. Oh, no, it's not. I didn't press enter. The Zoom link is out there. Y'all already know how we do. Domo is in the motherfucking building. Ain't no question who about to kill him. Shout out to the MVP, Domo, the man that set my ass down for the remainder of the season. So I definitely got to give him props. I know that y'all appreciate his debating skills and tactics and presentations and packaging, resources, studying, compilement of the information, presentation. He's not by himself. He's going up against Taz, who is an awesome fucking compiler of information. He digs a little more deep. He's not scared to stick his hand all the way down there and get into the grimy part of it and pull it out. Ha! Right? He's a real life fucking candy man. No special effects needed. He's the GOAT, greatest of all topics. His presentation skills, the authority in which he lets you know you are dumb. Going up against Domo, man. The 14th of July. The separation effect, the impact of white supremacy. Bum, 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 bum. Fuck is y'all talking about? And then we got A9 going up against the SAR. This is the wizardry debate right here, man. This is it. Depending on the title, this could be grand scale, high level wizardry going on at this debate. I'm not even going to fuck with you. All right. The tank top is back. That bitch didn't have to be so lean and so bogus to one side, though. But tank top is back, baby. And it's loose in the bitch. Right? How y'all feeling, man? I hope y'all doing. Nah, I haven't been heard about a topic. You know, I ain't seen the SAR around. I ain't even seen A9 around. I think I saw A9 in the show. I don't know. Yeah, I think I saw A9 in the show one time. But no, I haven't been made aware of any topics. And I'm pretty sure they don't, because if they had one, A9 would definitely be up here letting you know how well he's finna murder this man. So, niggas was talking about I was running. But he was ready for combat. Up, up, down, down, left, right, A, B, select, start. Let me get 100 men. It's time to go. Niggas was ready for combat. All war. Contact. Get you a good woman in your life, fellas. Fellas, get you a good woman in your life, all right? Ladies, Don't swirl. Hold it together. Keep it together. Okay? All right? And thank you for your patience. Thank you for your love. Thank you for all that you've done for us. I will continue to support, protect, and accept in the means that I have and try to get better at it. So, yeah. If you by yourself, that is a measurement of your conditions around. Right? You need a team. You need friends, male and female. You need a spouse, someone. Be there. Boom. You know, you can't talk to everybody about everything. Right? Sometimes you need somebody in your life who just understand. They don't need to be talked to. They just fucking understand. So that is it, man. We waiting on 2 more motherfucking debates. Then we gonna see who's going to the gates. It's gonna be Domo or A9, Taz at A9, Domo or Sar, Taz or Sar. We'll all 4 of them fucking blow up, spontaneously just combust live during the debate in the conference, in the vision, in the conference. Yeah, the conference. I don't know. So we in that thing, man. Shout out to Taz, man. Make sure you subscribe to Taz Exclusive. Subscribe to the Chop Up Show. Subscribe to Goldmine Tree Tribe TV. Subscribe to Psychopathies. Subscribe to Jules Gaming Now. Subscribe to Wordsport Battlegrounds, where you can support Rio and Cozy, aka Minister Hal, in his debate career. I mean, in his battle rap career. Make sure y'all fuck with the people, man, because we fucking with y'all. Shout out to Choose Justice. Shalom. 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 Yeah, man, I appreciate y'all presence. Hit that like button, man, if you fucking with us. Hit the dislike button if you a hoe. You know it's your right. You know what I'm saying? This ain't shit. This script's been flipped tonight. God damn. Y'all don't know nothing about that. That's that DOC after he got his shit fucked up. Bitches ain't shit. The script's been flipped tonight. Yeah, man. Oh, all right, let's talk about this since we black, right? Let's piss some people off, Let's piss some people off again. Show that. Let me see, man. I'm gonna reject all. See what they do with that. Okay, so let me share right quick. I hate how StreamYard share, but let me share right quick. Flooding disproportionately harms black neighborhoods. Okay. Of course, you know, World Star is my source for news. It's the most reliable source that black people have. Rest in peace to O. It's been crackerized and faggotized since then. So, but nevertheless, there's a video on there of a young lady talking about the untold history of underwater black cities in the U.S. And so I just typed it in, and this is an article that came up, so I want to get into it. This young DJ Black Charm looking motherfucker here, Palazzo Simmons. Why would you name him Palazzo for a first name if you have the option of Simmons for a second name? Don't know. 49 years old. Doesn't look it. Black don't crack. Looks out over his home neighborhood for the first time since Hurricane Katrina in the mostly poor and black lower 9th Ward section of New Orleans on October 2nd, 2005. While New Orleans in more upscale neighborhoods were urged to return home. The counterparts from the poorest areas hardest hit by Hurricane Katrina were forced to sneak past police checkpoints to see for the first time the remnants of their life. When Hurricane Katrina Harvey, they gave Hurricane Katrina a last name. Hurricane Katrina got married. Was that supposed to be a comma? When Hurricane Katrina Harvey devastated Texas in 2017, the neighborhood that suffered the worst flood damage was a section of Southwest Houston, where 49% of the residents are non-white. That's just a slither, right? 49%. Hey, it was almost. When Hurricane Katrina hit southeast Louisiana in 2005, the damage was the most extensive in the region's African American neighborhoods. On the 7 zip codes that suffered the costliest flood damage from Katrina, 4 of them had population that were at least 75% black, government records show. So of the 7 zip codes, Goldmine is in the building.
You already knew it. Business.
Factual. Out of the 7 zip codes, 4 of them were at least 75% black. All of them were majority black. Flooding in the U.S. disproportionately harms African American neighborhoods, and E&E News analyst, a federal flood insurance payment shows. The concentration of flood damage in urban areas with large black populations may contrast to images of hurricanes hitting affluent coastal areas and riverine floods swamping rural, largely white communities. But urban flooding and its disproportionate impact on minorities and low-income residents are becoming a growing concern as climate change intensifies floods. At the same time, urban development is creating more impervious surfaces in cities, and aging municipal sewer systems are overwhelmed by the increasing water. The flood risk to the nation is concentrated in the metro areas. Flood expert Doug Placencia said yesterday at a national conference on flooding, socially vulnerable populations add to the complexity. A major concern about flooding in cities that the residents who are most vulnerable.
Hold on. You just said socially vulnerable. Damn.
Populations add to the complexity.
Yes. So basically, motherfuckers know. Like, we always be like, I'm putting something up for a rainy day. You know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. So we know there's gonna be rainy days, right? So, this just further adds to the problem that we have with society, where they constantly put us in these predicaments. So when these rainy days come, we fucked.
Rainy days bring floods with disproportionately black areas.
You feel me? And you worrying about Rico shooting such and such. Rico stress. And you talking shit. I always tell people, watch your mouth, because you probably gonna get killed by somebody you was around, because you was talking shit. But that's how most people die. The majority of the people that die, I think it's like over 80%, they die from people that was around them, people they knew, somebody they knew.
80% of murdered people were murdered by someone that they knew or had a relationship with. Yeah.
So watch your mouth.
Ed 118, peace to you, man. Time Bandit, peace to you, man. Said Harvey was another hurricane that hit that year close. Oh, yeah. I was just being fucked up because I believe they fucked up. Cynthia G made me drop the Bandit. Oh, shit. Time Brody. Shout out to Cynthia G, man. Correcting black men to this day. Go ahead, bro.
As much as we feel like they, trying to control weather or whatever, so we get into that conspiracy, it's like you said right there, like, they already put us in disproportionate situations, you feel me, as far as resources, and put us in certain neighborhoods where we don't control what's going in and out. That's why it's a neighborhood, not a community, because we don't have no common unity to say what comes in and out of that. You feel me? These just designated areas for us. So it's no surprise the designated areas for us is the same designated areas they don't care when people die over there.
Sophisticated Gestapo.
That's all America was for anyway. To further get sophisticated in how they was doing that shit over there, the Aristotle shit. Then Aristocracy. Then motherfuckers thinking they elite and better than other people.
Yeah. And it's clearly a goddamn dictatorship.
You feel me? But I mean, at the same time, count it all joy though, because you could be the person who is deviant, who is always at the brunt of destruction. You feel me? But instead, you have the joy or the mission of being a creator. So we don't have long to be pay attention to them motherfuckers. You know what I'm saying? Like we gotta create like what you bring in life to is the fact we're gonna have to create different situations for ourselves, as well as create situations for these rainy days that we know that we disproportionately put in. You feel me? So like me and you and Brandon talked about, recently about the black people's insurance, with him having the moving business and people wanting to give him stuff. Like we need to start having us a warehouse where we push it up, we sell stuff, take donations, as well as we put things up for people when they go through, situations such as this. And we can refurnish their shit, put them in a better situation, provide boats and stuff for areas that we know normally get hit like that. Because we can look at the track record of storms and shit, and majority of the time predict, when the next one's gonna come back around. But most of all, we can be prepared for it. You know what I'm saying? Perfect preparation for being for performance. That's all the nigga trying to do.
Absolutely. Absolutely. This is
Yes, well, you get my messages the other day. We gotta catch up on our messages, man. This person name keep ringing in my head. I think it's a conversation we supposed to have about it. So I think I'm gonna need to catch up on my messages eventually. I sent you a screenshot. That's some shit.
In our messaging or
just me and your message. The love I got for you, I hope the pain don't stay. You just slashing and dashing.
It might, you know what? Yeah, because
man, y'all, this is the playoffs, and we are the lead. Yeah, feel me? Hope y'all been enjoying the recent shows. You know what I'm saying? Solid came through with one. Claim, and I had a nice little show. And of course, we got the OG Triple O. Suave back at the helm. Well, I'm the too goddamn strong that broke this damn plastic ass sport on accident. I broke that shit where the fingers go. Like, god damn. With my point finger. God damn, bro.
I'm throwing this goddamn rubric away, man. It's real.
What the fuck are you talking about?
Goddamn playoff rubric and shit.
You got a spoon there. You got a spoon.
Rapid fire round. The rapid fire round is when each debater gets the opportunity to ask their opponent a series of questions. Judges have agreed that the debater that is asking questions should be allowed to get out the question in its entirety before the opponent gives an answer. Similarly, when the opponent is answering a question, they should be allotted the time to give an answer. Complex answers imply complex questions. Complex questions require complex answers. You feel me? The judges will evaluate if debaters are abusing their power and mark them accordingly. Zero tolerance for yelling and over-talking your opponent. This is the playoff rubric for 2020-21, and this is why
I acted the way I acted during the interrogation. Right? I'm only bringing that up because I'm looking for the attachment
Mm-hmm.
in my email to find what my brother is telling me to shoot to him. And God damn it, man, that just really hurt me.
I feel you. Ah, shit. My family about to did that shit, brother. Ah, man, I'm trying to heal this leg up, but I ain't trying to take a day off, man, on my workout. Motherfucker pissed me off. Hurt my goddamn leg yesterday. We trying to do this different workout, but I mean, I'm fucked up. I ain't stopping.
Yeah, I think this might be it right
Ain't no quitting me, big dog.
here.
Still got 2 more shit to give, dog.
A place to spend our quiet nights. But when all I can see is my mother's eyes.
Man, come on, man.
To carry
That
on with no
nigga,
one
that shit
else.
ain't right, dog. That shit ain't right. I fuck this trapper shit, boy. That shit ain't right.
Katrina be like, I
I'm
wonder why James didn't see my face. That should be fucking my head up. And I love that song. And every time I play it, I think of her, that bar. Like, damn, man. Her
Bro, I
life
always
is
used to hear my mama's voice before, like, if I was about to do some dumb shit, or somebody was about to tell me, like, hey, we can go do this. I hear my mama like, but I take that dumb ass out.
Y'all just sent it to you. It's in the screenshot. You can tell which one it is.
Yeah, sure.
But yeah, a major concern about flooding in cities is that the residents who are most vulnerable, those who live in the lowest lying areas or in neighborhoods without green space or zero water, are often poor and members of minority groups. The reality is that you typically find in our floodplains many of the society's vulnerable populations. Chad Bergingen is executive director of the Association of State Flood Plan Managers, said at a conference yesterday. When you look at the entire urban community, there are profound impacts due to the urban flooding that go beyond physical property damage and include the risk of injury and loss of life. Urban flooding has the potential to exacerbate the racial inequality that is an undercurrent of the nationwide protests over the May.
Exaggerate or exasperate?
Exacerbate.
Exacerbate. Like it make it clear. Like nigga ain't nowhere around it right here.
No, I think like
how motherfuckers that been mistreated. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like it make it clear. It ain't like you playing no black, race card trying to get sympathy and then just like nigga, this shows.
No, to make a bad situation worse. To potential to
the straw that brought the camera back.
Exacerbate. Words. An undercurrent of the nationwide protests over the May 25th killing of George Floyd, rest in peace, a black man in custody by Minneapolis police psyop. Some protesters have denounced broad and persistent societal inequalities, including a disproportionate number of blacks dying from COVID-19 population control. So, yeah, that was just one. If y'all want to go over there and see, let me see, how Oregon's second largest city vanished in a day. A 1948 flood washed away the World War II housing project Vanport, but its history still informs Portland's diversity. Let's see what this is about. Are these white people, black people? The mere utterance of Vanport was known to send shivers down the spines of well-bred Portlanders. Well, Portland sounds kind of white to me. Not because of any ghost story or any calamitous disaster. That will come later, but because of raw, unabashed racism. What? Seems like black people. Built in 110 days in 1942, Vanport was always meant to be a temporary housing project. a superficial solution to Portland's wartime housing shortage. At its height, Vanport housed 40,000 residents, making it the second largest city in Oregon and home to workers in Portland shipyards and their families. Shout out to Shay, shout out to Barbara, shout out to Asiatic, and Time. Once again, hold on, let me put that chat over here so I can make sure I see it. Because while I'm reading, kind of ignoring you guys, and then I miss you, and then I rush over to the chat, I see you, I get happy again, and then I get back to reading. Yeah, the second largest city in Oregon, and home to the workers in Portland shipyards and their families. But as America returned to peacetime and the shipyards shuttered, tens of thousands remained in the slipshod houses and apartments in Vanport, and by design. Through discriminatory housing policy, many who stayed were African American. In a city that before the war claimed fewer than 2,000 black residents, white Portland eyed Vanport suspiciously. In a few short years, Vanport went from being thought of as a wartime example of American innovation to a crime-laden slum. In 1947, Oregon Journal investigation discussed the purported eyesore that Vanport had become, noting that except for the 20,000 some residents who still lived there, to many Oregonians, Vanport has been undesirable because it is supposed to have a large colored population, the article read. Of the some 23,000 inhabitants, only slightly over 4,000 are colored residents. True, this is a high percentage per capita compared to other northwestern cities. But, as one resident put it, the colored people have to live somewhere. And whether they're Northwesterners like it or not, they are here to stay. Faced with an increasingly dilapidated town, the Housing Authority of Portland wanted to dismantle Vanport altogether. The consensus of opinion seems to be, however, that as long as over 20,000 people could find no other place to go, Vanport would continue to operate whether Portlanders like it or not. Portland likes it or not. The 1947 Sunday Journal explained, it is almost a physical impossibility to throw 20,000 people out to the streets. Almost, but not. The city will soon learn completely impossible. Delta Park, tucked along the Columbia River in Portland's northern edge, is today a sprawling mix of public parks, nature preserves, and sport complexes. Spread across 85 acres, it houses 9 soccer fields, 7 softball fields, a football field, an arboretum, words, a golf course, and Portland's International Raceway. It's spaces like this, open, green, and vibrant, that make Portland an attractive place to call home. Recently, it was named one of the world's most livable cities by the British magazine Monocle. Shout out to Monocle. The only U.S. city to make it to the list. Goddamn. In the park's northwest corner sits Forest Lake, once a haven for over 100 species of birds, and a vibrant community swimming hole, now a polluted mess. Around the lake stands various signposts, the only physical reminder of Vanport City. But the intangible remnants of Vanport live on, a reminder of Portland's lack of diversity, both past and right now. Portland's whiteness is often treated more as a joke than a blemish on its reputation, but its lack of diversity in a city of some 600,000 residents, just 6% are black, stems from its racist history, of which Vanport is an integral chapter. When Oregon was admitted to the United States in 1859, it was the only state whose state constitution explicitly forbade black people from living. There's a snap of fact. Working or owning property within its borders. Until 1926, it was illegal for black people to even move into the state. People, 1926. Its lack of diversity fed a vicious cycle. Whites looking to escape the South after the end of the Civil War flocked to Oregon, which billed itself as a sort of pristine utopia, where land was plentiful and diversity was scarce. In the 1900s, Oregon was a hotbed of the KKK activity, boasting over 14 stacks of members. 9 stacks of whom lived in Portland. The Klan's influence could be felt everywhere, from business to politics. The Klan was even successful in ousting a sitting governor in favor of a governor more of his choosing. Got that ass up out of here despite the fucking vote protest. It was commonplace for high-ranking members of local and statewide politics to meet the Klan members, who would advise them in matters of public fucking policy. In this whitewashed world, Portland, Oregon's largest city then and now, was known as one of the most segregated cities. Taz is in the building. Let me put a couple co-hosts on my brothers. Shout out to Taz the GOAT.
What up, though?
Panel yesterday, strong panel, man.
What up, bro?
Hell yeah, I fucked around, fell asleep, man. It got late on me. I didn't even realize how late it got.
Yeah, I ended it. I was checking. Lance was holding it down. Lance had like 30 motherfuckers in that bit. Just listen to that nigga just reply back to the and then when I came back, it was just you and Solo. I said, oh, it's over with. And I had just cut my computer off. I came back and turned my computer on the internet. But yeah, that was fire, bro. That was live. Appreciate it.
Yeah. So what y'all talking about?
Reading about all of the black cities that the disproportionately flooded black areas historically known in the United States. It was this one little video. I still ain't watched it on World Star. This woman talking about you will look at lakes differently. Because a lot of these lakes were cities that were black people live. And they were flooded out because we were put into the lower areas. We put it, we have less, green to soak up the water in. My conspiracy, like New Orleans, and that's my example to give me more, is that these places are purposely constructed like that to save the higher, more richer, whiter areas from flooding. It's kind of like an option. But yeah, so I, Googled it. I'm just reading about this place in Oregon, Portland, the second largest city in Oregon. Was, I guess, had a black population, and it disappeared in a day. So I was just reading about this article. It said in this whitewashed world, Portland, Oregon's largest city then and now, was known as one of the most segregated cities north of the Mason-Dixie line. Did you know that, Taz? Did you know how fucking racist Portland was? Oregon?
Absolutely. Oregon came into the Union as an all-white utopia. Black people were never supposed to live there initially.
Yeah, and they said into the 1920s, it was illegal for us to move into the state. That's crazy. That is crazy, bro.
I didn't know that shit.
Yeah, cities north of the Mason-Dixie line. The law barring blacks from voting in the state wasn't revoked until 1927. Most of Portland's black residents before World War II had come to the city to work as railroad porters. One of the few jobs that were legally allowed to hold in the state. One of the few jobs we were legally allowed to hold in the state, and took up residence in the area of Albina, within walking distance of Portland's Union Station. As the Albina district became a center for black residents, it also became one of the only places in the city where they were allowed to live. Extreme housing discrimination, known as redlining, prohibited minorities from purchasing property in certain areas. In 1919, the Realty Board of Portland approved a code of ethics that forbade realtors and bankers from selling or giving loans for property located in white neighborhoods to minorities. By 1940, 1,100 of Portland's 1,900 black residents lived in Albina. It lived in the Albina district centered around North Williams Avenue in an area just 2 miles long and 1 mile wide. Like it did to so much of the country, World War II changed the landscape of Portland completely. In 1940, just before the United States entered into the war, industrialist Henry Kaiser struck a deal with the British Navy to build ships to bolster Britain's war effort. Searching for the place to build this shipyard, Kaiser set his sights on Portland. where the newly opened Bonneville Dam offered factories of in abundance of cheap electricity. Kaiser opened the Oregon Shipbuilding Corporation in 1941, and it quickly became known as one of the most efficient shipbuilding operations in the country, capable of producing ships 75% faster than other shipyards, while using generally unskilled but still unionized laborers. Period. When America entered the war in December of 1941, white male workers were drafted, plucked from the shipyard, and sent overseas, and the burden of fulfilling the increased demand for ships with America's entrance into the war fell to the shoulders of those who had otherwise been seen as unqualified for the job. Women and minorities. White women and minorities. Black men and women began arriving to Portland by the thousands, increasing Portland's black population tenfold in a matter of years. Between 1940 and 50, the city's black population increased more than any West Coast city other than Oakland and San Fran. It was part of a demographic change seen in the cities across America. As blacks left the South for the North and West in what became known as the Great Migration, or what Isabel Wilkerson, who knows who that is, in her acclaimed history of the period, The Warmth of Other Suns, called the biggest underreported story of the 20th century. From 1915 to 60, nearly 6 million blacks left their southern homes seeking work and better opportunities in northern cities. Hey, may I add, giving up a lot of fucking good land that we had, come up here to get a job to work for other motherfuckers. Kind of seemed like a bad move to me. Nearly 1.5 million leaving in the 1940s. Seduced by the call of World War II industries and jobs, many seeking employment headed west, lured by the massive shipyards at the Pacific Coast. With Portland's black population undergoing a rapid expansion, city officials could no longer ignore the question of housing. There simply wasn't enough space in the red line neighborhoods for the incoming black workers. And moreover, providing housing for defense workers was seen as a patriotic duty. But even with the overwhelming influx of workers, Portland's discriminatory housing policies reigned supreme. Fearing that the permanent housing development would encourage black workers to remain in Oregon after the war, the Housing Authority in Portland was slow to act. A 1942 article from the Oregonian with the headline "New Negro Migrant." New Negro migrants worry city. God damn. Said new black workers were taking the housing facilities of the Albina district and confronting authorities with new housing problems. Later that same year, Portland Mayor Earl Riley asserted that the Portland can observe only a minimum number of Negroes without upsetting the city's regular life. Eventually, the HAP built some 4,900 temporary housing units for some 120,000 new workers. The new housing still wasn't enough for Kaiser, however, who needed more space for the stream of workers flowing into the shipyard. You said most didn't have any land or anything at all? I doubted that. Probably not personally, but we had family land, and that's how we got down. You know, we stayed on that family land, and we extended the house, built more rooms, or put another house, shit like that. That we should have stuck to that plan. Because you see now a lot of people are trying to buy land, and it's not, you know, they're not fucking with you. Kaiser couldn't wait for the city to provide his workers with housing. So he went around officials to build his own temporary city with the help of the federal government. Completed in just 110 days, faster than the vaccine, the town comprised of 10,414 apartments and homes. Was mostly a slipshod combination of wooden blocks and fiberboard walls, built on marshland between the Columbia Slough and the Columbia River. Vanport was physically segregated from Portland and kept dry only by a system of dikes. A lot of gay women kept this city dry that held back the flow of the Columbia River. The psychological effect of living on the bottom of a relatively... Okay, dams. Dikes, they're like dams. Sorry. That held back the flow of the Columbia River. The psychological effect of living on the bottom of a relatively small area, diked on all sides to a height of 15 to 25 feet, was vaguely disturbing, wrote Manly Mabin in his first... Where did I get the word first? In his 1987 book, Vanport, it was almost impossible to get a view of the horizon from anywhere in Vanport, at least on the ground or in the lower level apartments, and it was even difficult for upper levels.
Yeah, that story ain't really told a lot, bro. To me, that's one of the worst places historically. And then after it would be Colorado. Now, I think historically our people look to the South when we start that conversation about the Klan and you know what I'm saying, how much influence they had and who did what. But bro, when you look at what they was doing in Portland and over in like Denver and that Colorado area, bro, they had that shit sold up. I'm talking about like that what was that, 1921? They sitting there, although I know you've seen these pictures. That picture with the Klan in the church where Jesus saves, where it say that? You ever seen that picture?
Yeah.
That's Portland, nigga. You ever seen that cover where the Klan standing with the city leaders and it's got the headline that the Klan meet with the city leaders? That was Portland. You know what I'm saying? Like they controlled that whole area. Colorado, they had a K there for a while, but they was calling that shit Colorado spelled with a K. They had that shit that sold up over on the West in the 1920s. A lot of the times they think of the South because of what happened in the 50s and 60s. But bro, in the 20s, if it wasn't for the Great Depression and World War II, bro, they probably would have never let niggas on the West Coast.
That's crazy. That is crazy.
Yeah, we just, like I said, man,
Not even just that. How many black people did they kill when they came through there? You feel me? Because they was just like, nah, we clearing this shit up.
Yeah, wasn't nobody fucking with them in the 1920s, bro. They came through, niggas on in, bro. You know what I'm saying? They was too deep, bro. It was too
I feel you. That's what I'm saying. Like, I know niggas was getting their ass knocked off over there if they came through that deep. But I'm just thinking about how many black people was already on the West Coast. You feel me? When you feel me? Like, man, how many people did they kill, bro?
That's crazy. Look like a beautiful place. Can't lie. You know? And it got that nostalgic feel. You know, I'm an old head, you know, with an old soul. Bell bottoms, you know what I'm saying? Butterfly collars in the sideburns and shit. The older back you put me, the better, bro. Like, real talk. I will be completely comfortable for electricity. You know what I'm saying? Because my biggest thing is people. Like people. You know what I'm saying? All this stuff is just, you know, to have interactions with people. But it looked like a nice place. I see cars. Of course, they came here to work. So they had bread. You know what I'm saying? They was on a Doug Dizzle. Like, I don't know what the fuck this is. It's like a greenhouse. A fucking school. Possibly a school. The project crib. Bikes in the backyard and shit. You know? Look at the quaint little desk. Oh, wow, I miss when people was this small. Sheesh. Look at the bed right back there. Yeah, man, I like that old shit, man. This 1942. Is that what it is? Interior of the Vanport apartment. Okay, so seemingly overnight, Vanport, named because it was midway between Portland and Vancouver, Washington, became Oregon's second biggest city and the largest housing project in the country. See how easy that is? See how fucking easy that is? God damn, bro. And when they what was that? Became home to over 40,000 workers at its peak, 6,000 of whom were black. At this opening in August of 1943, the Oregonian heralded it as a symbol of America's wartime ingenuity. Vanport City goes beyond providing homes for defense workers, the article proclaimed. It is encouraging in all possible conditions of normal living to parallel the hard times of the life in a war community. The year 1948 had been particularly a wet year, even by Oregon standards. A snowy winter had left the mountain snow peak bloated, and a warm Rainy May combined with the spring melt to rise the level of the Columbia River to dangerous heights. By May 25, 1948, both the Columbia and the Willamette rivers reached 23 feet, 8 feet above flood stage. Officials in Vanport began patrolling the dikes that day, but didn't issue any warnings to Vanport's residents. The United States Army Corps of Engineers had assured that the dikes would hold, and the Vanport would remain dry in the face of increasingly rising water. Still, the HAP safeguarded its fowls and equipment, removing them from the offices in Vanport along with some 600 horses from the adjacent racetrack. On May 30th, Memorial Day, 1948, Vanport woke up to a flyer from the HAP that read, "Remember, dikes are safe at present. You will be warned if necessary. You will have time to leave. Don't get excited." That's a warning. I want to let y'all know. Fuck those words. That's a warning. The dikes did not hold. At 4:17 p.m., a break came in a railroad dike that separated Vanport from Smith Lake along the city's northwest edge. What began as a small hole just 6 feet initially rapidly expanded until water was steadily streaming through a 500-foot gap in the dike. As water seeped into the city, homes were swept away in a flood, the foundationless walls unable to withstand the force of the water, according to the Rachel Dresbeck in her book, Oregon Disasters, True Story of Tragedy and Survival. It wasn't the HAP or city police that first alerted residents to the incoming flood, but students and faculty from Vanport College, who had come to Vanport on a Sunday in order to collect and secure their research projects. Though the Columbia Slough succeeded in absorbing some of the incoming water, within 10 minutes, Vanport was inundated. Wow, that's a word. In less than a day, the nation's largest housing project and Oregon's second largest city was destroyed. 18,500 residents were displaced and roughly 6,300 were black. In the days following the Vanport flood, rumors swirled in the local press. Official estimates of casualties doled out liberally to reports by those not directly involved with the investigation were in the hundreds. And eyewitnesses' accounts told stories of dozens of bodies being carried down the Columbia River. Days into June, no bodies had been recovered from the flood town, stoking rumors that the HAP had quietly disposed of bodies in order to lessen the blame for its mishandling of the situation. One news story suggested that the HAP had arranged for at least 600 bodies to be stored, stored in a terminal, ice, and cold storage facility downtown. Another story claimed that the government had quietly, and by the cover of night, loaded 157 bodies, or 457, depending on who tells the story, onto a ship bound for Japan. Most derided the rumors as ugly and irresponsible, and they were right, but they reflected the general distrust of the public, especially the now displaced residents of Vanport, toward housing and city officials. If it had been a totally white population living there, would it have been different? Ed Washington, once a resident of Vanport, speculates. Probably if they had been poor white. Would it have been different? Probably not. Both black and white workers lived in Vanport, but unlike defense housing in Seattle, which was built in a segregated fashion, Vanport had been a segregated community, and the black workers were kept separate from the white workers. According to Vanport resident Beatrice Gilmore, who was 13 years old when her family moved from Louisiana by way of Las Vegas to Oregon, the segregation wasn't mandated by law, but it came as a result of practices from the HAP. It wasn't only segregated, Gilmore says. The housing authority said it wasn't segregated, but it was. There were certain streets that African Americans were assigned to. For Gilmore, living in Vanport as a black teenager was more complicated than it had been in Louisiana. In the South, she explained, racism was so blatant that clear lines cut races apart. In Portland, racism was more hidden. Black residents wouldn't necessarily know if they were going to encounter discrimination in the business until they entered. Discrimination was open in some areas, it's undercover in some areas, but it was all over. Ed Washington, 7 years old, when he moved from Birmingham, Alabama, with his mother and siblings to join their father in Vanport. Washington says that he moved to Portland without the expectation of being treated any differently in the Pacific Northwest than he was in the South, though he recalls his father telling him that he would, for the first time, be attending school alongside white children, and that his family wouldn't have to ride at the back of the bus. There were some of those vestiges in Portland also, and you learn that once you get here and once you start moving through the environment. Washington recalls, in Vanport, Washington remembers encountering most racist remarks than as a child in Birmingham, simply because in Birmingham, blacks and whites rarely interacted at all. In Birmingham, you lived in a black neighborhood, period. The incidence was much more heightened in Vanport. You can say it louder. No. Can you bring me some water? I'm sorry for screaming out. The incidents was much more heightened in Vanport, but I think those incidents were only initial. When people first started moving in Portland, there were far more incidents than I experienced in Birmingham. Wow. Despite offering residents an integrated education in community centers, life in Vanport wasn't easy. Separated from Portland, miles to the nearest bus line, it was sometimes difficult to obtain daily necessities. By the winter of 1943-44, residents were moving out by as many as 100 a day, but not black residents who, doomed by Portland's discriminatory housing policies, had nowhere else to go. When the war ended in 1945, the population of Vanport drastically contracted, from a peak of 40,000 to some 18,500, as white workers left the city. Approximately 1/3 of residents of Vanport at the time of the flood, were black, forced to remain in a deteriorating city. That's why they call it, Forced Lake, due to the highest levels of post-World War II unemployment and continued redlining of Portland's neighborhood. A lot of people think of Vanport as a black city, but it wasn't. It was just a place where blacks could live, so it had a large population, Washington's explained. But in a place as white as Portland, the city was 1/3 black, was a terrifying prospect for the white majority. It scared the crud out of Portland, Washington said. In total, 15 people perished in the Vanport flood, a number kept low by the fact that the flood occurred on a particularly nice sunny afternoon, when many families had already left their homes to enjoy the weather. Temporarily, the line of racial discrimination in Portland was bridged when white families offered to take in black families displaced by the storm. But before long, the racial lines that existed before the flood hardened yet again. The total number of displaced black residents was roughly equal to the entire population of Albania, making it impossible for displaced black families to crowd into the only areas where they were allowed to buy homes. Many, like Washington's families, ended up back in temporary defense housing. It would take some families years to find permanent housing in Portland, and for those who remained, the only option was the already overcrowded Albina district. According to Karen Gibson, Associate Professor of Urban Studies and Planning at Portland State University, the flood that washed away Vanport did not solve the city housing problem. It swept it into a final phase of ghetto building in the central city. Yeah, man, a lot like Hurricane Katrina. Look at them beautiful babies. Wow, man.
Yeah, Vanport is another one of them stories, man, that, you don't hear about it enough. And then when you heard about it last year, what was they doing? Apologize. And then motherfuckers don't carry the story on no more. The apology is like, that wipe the story away.
Yeah, man. Oh fuck. Yeah, it's pretty fucking sad. Pretty damn bad, man. And I mean, this is like 0.3 of the stories.
Right.
Look at that. Yeah. Wow, that's amazing. I don't want to be funny, but why the little white dude looking like that though? You know what I'm saying? Like, even the little Asian smiling. That motherfucking little white dude looking like, man. Look at the brother right here. It's just, man, it's different. It's different. Wow, that's crazy. What was that flood picture? Boom, in a day. In a day. Look at this shit. Built in 110 days out of fucking wood and fiber fucking walls. No foundations. Yeah, man. Shit is real.
Man, I'm tripping off these mushrooms.
You tripping off some mushrooms.
Well, not tripping like that. Yeah, that's funny.
I'm about to say, what's up, bro? You need help, my nigga? That's a cry for help. I ain't know you did drugs.
And Taz's face look like he looking at me like that.
Man, I'm tripping off this coke, man. Whoa, what's up?
Oh. But nah, what I'm tripping off is you can like order these kits, right? And they just grow. You know what I'm saying? That's what I'm tripping off for. I'm like, damn. So I've been going to the store buying mushrooms for nothing.
Oh yeah, it's a fun. Man, look at this unique set of people fucking here.
Let me see.
Hold on, man. Let me share it to the Zoom. My bad.
By the way, shout out to Lonzo. Domo was in the chat. Mr. Green 101 was in the chat.
Domo ain't scared to come around?
No, he was talking shit about you just a minute ago. Talking about DJ. Nah, he wasn't talking shit about you. I think he was talking shit about the other side of the bird.
Yeah, that nigga wondering hold on now. We did a whole lot of capping to get our shit off the ground. Our niggas ain't got the title yet. I'm with Domo on that one, bro. Like, why y'all niggas got no title?
Yeah. Y'all hard on each other, bro.
Yeah, y'all need to put that shit on. Man, what's up with this nigga glasses?
Man, what the fuck, bro?
I love my people, man. That nigga grew up a color.
Man, hold on, bro. They talking about if you walk through the Grand King. No, I'm not gonna do that to y'all. Oh my god.
Can anybody tell who's the maniac? Can anybody tell who's the maniac in this picture?
Hold on, let me look. Let me see who you got.
Right, what is he doing?
The maniac?
The fucking
motherfucker in the suit.
The serial killer.
The serial killer, bro.
Dude, right there.
Oh, with the dark hair.
Oh.
Yeah, with the dark hair. Yeah. He ain't playing none of that shit. Him and the dude in the front. Him and the dude in the very front. The little bitty dude.
Blue like a motherfucker.
He was like, why you taking my picture for?
And they say this black dude with the glasses look like Inky.
They
said the priest. Shit.
I said the priest, yeah, that nigga looked like he throwing up, but then I started looking again. I seen that little boy, his pants pointed out. And then after looking at him, I looked at that little boy right there in the front with the blonde hair in the middle of the two black kids. The little black kids.
Some
Like, yeah.
badass looking motherfucking kids, bro.
You ain't shit, Taz. They was going through a rough time. I mean, that was the depression. The Great Depression when
Bro, she in there with that integrated ass class. Bro, I know that shit. Fuck, bro.
You can tell that's why they mugging like that. And like, man, when I gotta take pictures with these niggas for? Like, some of them was cool with it, but the others like, man, what the fuck? Some of them said, don't take no pictures.
White people are victims of white supremacy also. They're not born that way. Somebody teaches you that shit. You come out,
that's what I said.
Appreciate another
their mama was like, yeah, you can tell which one's mama was told them don't do that type of shit.
There go Lance people.
Yeah, like they with them glasses laughing and shit.
No, right next to it, with that unibrow. Striking like a bolt of lightning across the front of his face.
That is Lance back in time, huh?
That's fucked up.
You fucked up, but you gonna say shit.
Damn, man.
Damn, them folks went through it, bro.
That nigga Lance would get on here like, you don't know, bro, that is me. I've traveled through time. I've done it before.
They're in here right now, simultaneously.
Man, damn. You would try that. You wouldn't doubt it. You would try to take credit for that shit.
I kind of want to listen to this broad speech. I want to get strike. Ooh, man.
You already did the Great Mississippi Flood 1927.
Let's get it. Great Mississippi Flood 1927. Pointed at the flood of 1920 and its impact in green. Yeah, that might be one of them right there. Just to see if that makes it. That's general.
Oh yeah, it's what you're looking for, man.
Okay. Oh, dissertation. Herbert Hoover's concentration camp cover-up.
Yeah.
God damn. What is this? I went to 1927. Shit is real. Shit. They own that shit. Okay, yeah, this look like the end of the journey. Set up okay. Boom. My shooter doing bad again. Near the end of the John M. Barry's extraordinary history, there is a kind of epiphany that is as dark as the gelatinous, stinking muck in the Mississippi left behind after one of the most devastating floods in American history. For weeks, Will Percy of Greenville, Mississippi, the son of Delta plantation owner of the Southern entrepreneur aristocrat Leroy Percy and the future adopted father of the writer Walker Percy, had floundered. Frustrated by circumstances of his own incompetence as head of the Washington County Red Cross and chairman of a special flood relief committee, Black work gangs and their refugee families resented being held as virtual prisoners in dreadfully squalid concentration camps set up along the mouths of Greenville levee. Water, food, and medical supplies were inadequate. Percy's subordinates held him in contempt, and his equals, including his father, undercut his authority and ignored his decisions. And now a Black man had been killed by a white policeman for refusing to go back to work on levee repairs. This is after the flood. Levee repairs after having labored all night. The Black community seemed certain to explode. To prevent this, Percy, whose family prided itself on its amicable, if typically patrician relations with Black people, addressed a mass meeting of Blacks and launched into a diatribe that could have spewed from the lights of Theodore Bilbo. He had struggled and worried and done without sleep in order to help you Negroes, Percy whined. In return, he said, they had demonstrated a sinful, shameful laziness, and because of that, one of your race has been killed. You sit before me sour and full of hatred as if you had the right to blame anybody or judge anybody. I don't think this is about the actual flood. This is some shit that happened after the flood, but I'm going to finish. I am not the murderer. That foolish young policeman is not the murderer. The murderer is you. Your hands are dripping in blood. Look into each other's faces and see the shame and the fear God set on. Down on your knees, murderers, and beg your God not to punish you as you deserve. Greenville's Black people, perhaps too numb with disbelief to react, did not rebel. But Mr. Berry writes, the bond between the Percys and the Blacks was broken. The Delta, the land that had once promised so much to Blacks, had become entirely and finally the land where the blues began. In that one brief vignette, Mr. Berry peels back layers of self-delusion and myth, inviting us to share into a racial abyss, the Deep South and the abyss stared back. Really would like to get to that. The best music. Okay, I don't think that's what I'm looking for. I seem like that's about a writing. What is this? Rising Tide. Yeah, some shit like that. Let's just get it. Okay, this one look like it's gonna be on. Okay, this one look like it's gonna be on. Bad. The Mississippi River, Great Flood of 1927. Inundated large areas. That's that word again. Inundated. Overwhelmed with things or people to be dealt with. Inundated large areas in Mississippi, Arkansas, and Louisiana. However, it was Mississippi where the embankments overflowed, drowning hundreds, perhaps thousands of people, and became one of the largest natural disasters in U.S. history in terms of loss of life. The flood also starkly revealed the wide delta of Black peonage, or the new slavery that controlled the lives of slaves freed in 1865. And their descendants 62 years after passage of the 13th Amendment. The flood showed that the shadow of the plantation still loomed large, as little has changed in the Mississippi Delta since emancipation. Most blacks in the region still resided on plantations as sharecroppers and tenant farmers, while many others were forced into coerced labor. In fact, in the aftermath of the flood, local law enforcement authorities arrested thousands of black men, caged them in pens, and released them to white planters in need of rebuilding their businesses. The U.S. Justice Department failed to aggressively pursue statutory violations of the Anti-Peonage Act of 1867, interceding reluctantly and sporadically in the region. The Justice Department's seeming indifference mirrored, let's start over that one. Let's start that one. The Justice Department's seeming indifference mirrored that of other federal agencies to blacks, who suffered disproportionately because of the flood. Walter White, Executive Director of the National Association of Advancement of Colored People, NAPCA, returned to association headquarters in New York City, New York, from the Mississippi Delta, and wrote a scorching review of the failure of federal Jim Crow relief efforts in the flood areas. White revealed the use of federal troops in holding black peons in concentration camps until their planter employers could claim them. This report and other confirming newspaper accounts prompted Secretary of Commerce Herbert Hoover, who was in charge of release, to appoint a colored advisory committee to investigate the NAPCA complaints. Hoover committees was chaired by Tuskegee Institute President, Robert Russell-Moody, with 11 other Tuskegeans as committee members. Hoover hoped that a benign report from the conservative Washington camp would discredit the harsh criticism for the NAPCA. Attempting to play both sides against the middle, Martin urged Hoover to use the grave natural disaster to create a sense of freedom and hope for blacks in the Delta. Refusing to support White's earlier findings, Martin hoped that the non-critical approach would influence Hoover's relief efforts in a positive manner. However, Martin's committee report lay dormant on Hoover's desk for months. Between January and March of 1928, the crisis ran in a series of explosions of the despair, starvation, and exploitation of black labor in the Delta. These essays revealed to the national readership that peonage, debt slavery, bolstered by the bolstered by the Southern convict lease system, still dominated the lives of the vast majority of African Americans in the fucking region. Black. It said, what was the name again? Oh, thousands. Perhaps 1,000 of people. God damn. And so I guess this is another area where it was disproportionately flooded in the black areas, and black people died. And then after the fact, were put in the camps, used to work and rebuild levees and all this other retarded ass shit. Gelatinous. Thank you, Wiziggy. Thank you. Yeah, I love reading about history. Lance think Blue Paul is a woman. Al Capone. Shout out to you. Peace, man. Hit that like button. Hold on. I want to get this. It said after several months of heavy rain caused the Mississippi River to swell to unprecedented levels. Blinkly dinkly. The first levee broke on April 16th along the Illinois shore. Then on April 21st, the levee at the Mounds landed in the Mississippi gave way. Over the next few weeks, essentially, the entire levee system along the river collapsed. In some places, residential areas were submerged in 30 feet of water. At least 2 months passed before flood water completely subsided. 30 meters? So about like 3 meters is like 10 feet. Is this the actual photo of the shit? Yeah. It look like motherfuckers living out there. Yeah, well, you know, and motherfuckers act like even like people like Lance, like, right? I never let go from day one. I know our struggle. I know what it was. I know our plight. Let me go, leave me alone. Not integrate me into your system or none of that shit. But for those who say, well, you know, we weren't part of no slave trade. I wasn't part of no slave trade. You don't even need the slave trade. Plenty of stuff that happened in the 1900s alone built validity for any conversation you're having about oppression of black people, discrimination of black people, reparations, reform, whatever conversation you want to start, bro. You can throw a rock in any direction and you have enough. And if anybody else had it, this wouldn't even be a conversation. Shit would be moving. The Secretary of Commerce Hoover happened to be over a crash in 1929 as president. Yeah, it'd be the same motherfuckers, man. It'd be the same motherfuckers. But
I walked away. What you say about Herbert? Old Herbert Hoover?
yeah, it said he was the chief over at the time, the Secretary of Commerce at the time of this flood, and happened to also be over the crash in 1929.
Right, like how do you go from the failure of the flood to the president?
That shit is
Crazy.
Hey, Domo, I ain't even bother y'all. Hey, nah, a sword. You need that title,
Yeah,
fam.
like what's like? Yeah, where's the title, man? I ain't doing no sparring session with Domo. We ain't talking about nothing.
Shit.
Things got a title. We ain't talking about shit. Domo, my motherfucking homeboy, nigga, so they come up with the title.
So they come with that motherfucking title. Yeah, fam. So I ain't not. Oh, was who did he say? Was so and so the Pharaoh of the Exodus?
So and so.
The nigga that I forgot the name that A9 seen. But he did a debate, I think with Chris, who the Pharaoh of the Exodus.
Yeah, so it sounds like one of them debates that's gonna be over my motherfucking head. They start talking about shit like that. Pharaohs, Exoduses, Bible verses, shit.
Yeah, man. You know, we like to stay on shit, but I guess if, you know, you believe in the Bible, you believe in Kimmy, you know. I don't even know how you believe in Kimmy. Like believing, like, okay. Well, for motherfuckers like, yeah, and the netters and Like, to know the information, cool, but what are you actually believing about them? To understand the sciences, to understand, the knowledge, that's cool. What does believing in Kim
Right.
Changing your name to a sorry car? Say, nigga, I am about this shit. So hopefully they come. Well, it's Sunday. It ain't the Sabbath. It ain't the Sabbath. You know, I feel like we got real lives, nigga. We ain't just got all day to sit online. No fail. But it seems like they're pretty nervous. Domo Alcatone want to know why you still got him blocked, bro. He calling you petty and shit, fam. You want me to show his comments? He said you can't see him unless I do it. Yeah, so that should be jiggy, man. That should be jiggy. Y'all ain't even know about that bullshit with Sanchez and shit, man. That shit crazy. Shout out to Sanchez. What that nigga be talking about on this channel now? Not flat earth. And, mm, mm, mm. Yeah, and then the dude Othar. Willie D did a stream on him and put in that, was he standing his ground? I'm glad he did that. That's one of them channels. I thought the nigga was Dr. Inky. Damn, they got my nigga for that blue magic. Man, we can really go on and start season 4 right now, too, while we doing season 3 playoff. You know what I'm saying? It ain't gonna come for that. We can start season 4 right now, so. J Cal, PC, big bro. J Cal, no gaming. Changing them names around this motherfucker. I see. Malik Rain, peace to you. Put your 3 black fists in the air and grab the crack a bitch by the hair. Shout out to Malik Rain, man. Peace to you. Then I said, I want to listen to this audio. Let me see. I shouldn't get a strike for the audio. Uh-oh. Uh-oh. Okay, let me see. Where is it? Let me share it to the Zoom. And I can share the audio.
Over the past couple years, more Americans have become familiar with the story of the Tulsa Race Massacre, where a white mob burned a vibrant Black community to the ground, which is crazy. Even crazier, dozens of other Black towns have been erased off the American map, not by burning them down, but by hiding them underwater. Don't know what I mean? Well, let's find out in a segment called How Did We Get Here? A school and dozens of homes. Until the year 1912, when a very bad thing happened. Oh, two very bad things. In 1912, two Black teenagers were accused of rape. They were tried, convicted, and sentenced to death in a single day. And after they were executed, a mob of white men terrorized, drove out, or killed all the Black people in the surrounding area. And they...
God damn! You accuse two men of rape, same day, put them on trial, convict them, execute them. And then that's not enough. Then you head out and start hunting people in the surrounding cities. What the fuck?
They did that until the entire Black community of Oscarville disappeared. The county went from having over 1,000 Black residents in 1912 to 0 in 1920. That story is so sad, it makes this story look like a comedy. After the Black community had been run off, the white people of Forsyth County said, you know what we could use? A big old lake. So they made one, right where the town of Oscarville had just been. They flooded the area and literally covered up the entire town with water. This is what it looks like right now. But the town is still under there. The homes and churches and schools, they're still down there. And now people go boating on top of them. Compared to that, this is truly a rom-com. Now, you might be thinking, what a weird, isolated incident. But just like the rat who ate the pizza in the subway, this story is both crazy and common. Ever heard of Collegia, Alabama? It was once a thriving Black community with a Black college, the first Black railroad, and literally hundreds of family homes. Today, it's Lake Martin. At least they had the decency to name it after a Black person. And if you think this kind of thing only happened in the South, let me introduce you to a place called Central Park. It's named after that coffee shop on Friends. Central Park used to have a Black community in it called York Hill. But the city of New York destroyed...
Your screen ain't sharing to the YouTube. I can hear it, but I can't see it.
No. Yeah, I don't want to share the visuals.
Oh, okay.
Destroyed York Hill so that they could build the Central Park Reservoir. Because if there's one thing New York needs, it's another place for ducks to hang out. Because if York Hill, so the hill. But the city of New York destroyed York Hill so that they could build this to have a Black community in it called York Hill. But the city of New York destroyed York Hill so that they could build the Central Park Reservoir. Because if there's one thing New York needs, it's another place for ducks to hang out. But if you come here, don't try and feed those ducks. They are very aggressive. Mess around and lose a finger. Now, when the residents of York Hill were kicked out of their homes, they fled to another Black community nearby called Seneca Village. And then a few years later, New York destroyed Seneca Village too, so that they could build Central Park on top of it. The craziest part of this story is that I work a few blocks away from a place where the government disappeared two Black communities. And until recently, I didn't know about any of it. You know why? Because it worked. They tried to erase Black communities and they came way too close. But now there are people doing the research. So we are finally learning about places like Henry and McKee Islands, which is now located under Lake Guntersville in Alabama, and Vanport, Oregon, which is now located under Delta Park. And all of these towns, which are currently literally underwater. Hey, wait, hold on. What was that last one? Old Neversink. That's a real place. What?
She just showed like 20 fucking places, people.
Man, that shit crazy, bro. Like, you talk about all of it. Talk about that. Yeah, that's what I was talking about. That's the history of parks and highways and all this shit. You think this? Yes, come on. So to try to play this game, baseball fields and shit. You hear me? Like, And that's the slickness of it, because it gives the illusion like we've been making progress and we're all like, bro, the game is still the same, bro. It's not changed. They're eradicating economically.
And putting
it's silly.
And putting event spaces there.
It's not even no competition. This is easy work.
Right. Yeah. Until we make them change the tactics.
But you can't, because you're talking about corporation and you're living in a capitalistic system. And now you're going to say you need
the tactics change. The outcome is what doesn't change, but their tactics change and adjust based on how we move. It has historically.
Yeah, but I mean, like, you know, but who's gonna be around people with a mentality like this and shit? Like they're gonna find another tactic that we gotta learn at the motherfuckers dying shit.
That's not healthy.
Right, we gotta have a
in the world. I mean, that's the way of the world. I mean, niggas talk that Africa shit, but they over there doing it to their own kind over there. Like that's the way of the world, bro.
Well, I would argue against that too, because it's still the same setup.
But I mean, but you're trying.
It's an illusion that they're doing that to their same people.
They're not doing that. Look at it. They got some tribal warfare shit, but they're not doing this shit.
They're doing murders.
But they disrupted the Congo, and who's reaping the benefits from the disruption in the Congo right now?
I mean, and I get we view it worse when we do shit like
I can show you where Reagan destabilized the whole West Africa just to take the gold and all that.
White man come in and destabilize your shit. You're a weak group of people, bro. They weaker than would ever be. Yes, I don't put that average.
That's all a part of
Africans are weak people, bro. They let motherfuckers come and conquer them on their landmass. We don't have a landmass to call our own. We look at their shit. The white man shit, and we make up shit for them.
So you telling me when they conquered Africa, they didn't conquer us?
No, that ain't that.
So how did they get us before they conquered Africa?
What the fuck does conquering Africa got to do with me? I've never been.
Where they conquered Africa.
Her break down York Hill. Like when they came here, this shit was ours. Like, so we can't talk about
it. It wasn't mine. No, that's what I'm saying. But that shit ain't had nothing to do with me.
It was your ancestors. Everybody's ancestors didn't come over on no boat. A lot of us is already here.
Everybody's ancestors, though. Like, that's what I'm saying. Like, we attach ourselves to all of this shit.
The niggas that was already here. So did that mean they took your shit too?
Again, but some of that shit is just attaching yourself to it emotionally as opposed to intellectually.
I'm just saying you can't throw that shot at Africa.
That people have. I have an intellectual attachment to it.
No, I get it. I'm just trying to follow the logic. Like, because if you throw that shot at Africa saying they weak because they let motherfuckers do X, Y, Z, nigga, it's a lot of us that's native to this land and they still this shit here. That's what we talking about.
Yeah, but I mean, even still, it's not. We don't have the same dynamics. If 80% of us were black on this continent, I would be.
We was when they got here. When they got here in 1492. When they got here in 1492 and did all that shit.
I think, but what you looking more so at something that's different. It's a whole new dynamic that pops up. See, here we know that we're black. There's no getting around it. You go back to the continent, it's not about they don't know that they're black.
No, Blue, he said try it today. He ain't even thinking about the past.
They're not thinking about that shit. That ain't really reached the rest of the world like that. We know that in the diaspora, whether we here or in England or wherever we at, we know that, we're black. But you talking about there, they don't understand that dynamic. And they're in a system that dictates that they're black.
Because black is a new dynamic. You know what I'm saying? That's some American shit.
But how do they not have their own system? That's what I'm saying. Like
you can't. It's a world. You operate under a world system. So right now, the dominant current world system is what? Is this? It's a whole military.
It makes them the weaklings that I'm saying they are. They're weak.
No, everybody is a part of this.
Oh, we all getting our ass whipped right now.
Y'all ain't nothing. That's what I'm saying. I don't have a landmass. I don't have an army. I don't have infrastructure.
They not
beat up.
they kind of loud. But then you ain't even in the conversation. This is
No, that just showed that you got your ass kicked at some point in time.
Are you serious?
No. You're fucking African. The fucking Africans that you love and support got their ass
the
kicked.
fucking Americans.
That's how the you can't separate. You know, you try to separate the two when it's convenient for you.
And will continue to get their
We don't even
motherfucking
gotta
ass
go to
kicked.
Africa. Black Americans here.
Don't compare me to those weak ass.
The indigenous people of America got their ass beat the fuck up, and Americans was able to. And Cracker America was able. And Cracker, hold on, Blue.
Here in the Mississippi area.
Hold on, Blue. Hold on, bro. Crackers was able to build America on this soil. Nobody who indigenous was a super team of fucking Avengers. So if you want to call people weak because they not killers and murderers and rapists of old, like I get all of that. I get that mentality. If you don't fight and kill people, you're weak. But some people just righteous and peaceful. And when you come from a place where you literally don't have to kill to do anything, we gotta kill. It takes training. That takes a making of those people. And why those people have to rely on that shit. So if you want to sit up here and talk about who weak, by who conquered, America is conquered too. There's no stronghold of indigenous Americans.
Who's saying it's not?
No, I'm not saying you said it's not, but the way you pinpointed to Africa, like they're fucking weak. Yeah, well, so were everybody else on every other fucking continent.
They are. I'm not from there. I've never been there. That's a different landmass. They have a different understanding, and what they're supposed to be fighting for is their own. We got people over here in America fighting harder. People in America fight harder for their shit than they do.
Name one.
That's a lie. That ain't true. That's a lie, bro.
Name one what?
Name one person who's over here fighting. And I'll show you a motherfucker standing somewhere in front of a microphone hoping the nigga get hurt.
Nigga.
Yeah, I'm standing for I'm not fighting. I'm speaking. I'm using my words.
Yeah,
I want to hear about them non-weak motherfuckers who ain't finna let nobody conquer them, talk to them outside of the means and none of that shit that's getting their own land and holding their own sector down. Where them niggas at? They don't exist.
Hold on, right there.
We all sitting in
not to mention the whole concept
and convenience of our motherfucking houses. So, you know what I'm saying? That's kind of like crazy to sit up here and try to throw motherfuckers out there as some type of inferior ass people when we ain't doing shit. We ain't pointing out one gun, raising a spear, throwing a rock. Nothing.
Why would I be doing that?
Yeah, okay.
But I'm saying, why do it make you strong? Why do it make you strong to be devious and scrupulous? Like, these people they didn't line up and say, hey, Africans, we about to go to war. They didn't do none of that shit. Them motherfuckers did the most devious shit they could do whenever they could. And the whole thing about having a race is the race to mark territory, to conquer wherever black people own shit. So if you don't get, that's a takeover that everybody got in on, even some black people, because they felt like they couldn't beat them, they joined them. So we looking at a group of motherfuckers who everybody turned their back on. That's what you're looking at. You're not looking at somebody who was
more victim
like, we squared up with these niggas and they beat us fair and square. Hell the fuck no. So we're not gonna talk about we weak. How the fuck is we weak?
African victimhood, they're weak as fuck. They're fucking
nigga. I'm talking about natives in America. So are we weak because these motherfuckers poisoned us when we fed them?
Natives in America lost
like
the war, cried. You let these motherfuckers take your shit and you forget about it, keep on moving, act like it never happened. That's weak, bro. Like that's weak. I don't look at indigenous Americans as being strong.
So this is what
motherfuckers think they shit.
So this is where I need clarification from.
Who forgot about it though?
Why are we pinpointing a sector of people and putting this on there when we're all under the same shit?
Because I'm not under that though. That's what I'm saying. I'm not under nothing to do with Africa. I'm not under nothing to do with no indigenous Americans.
It has something to do
with we all under the American economy. Okay, go ahead.
Are you under white
So
supremacy?
you're hold on. So you're the conqueror then.
No, don't do that, bro.
If I need to be,
Are you
if I
under,
need to,
That's
it's gonna
the
require me
issue,
to
bro,
be.
that's the conversation he'd rather have than admit that he's under white supremacy, just like Africans, just like Indians, just like anybody else.
Right.
All that
Okay,
fictitious
right.
shit, you can make
So I'll
like
say it
that.
again. Your pussy ass Africans that you look up to have their own landmass. I was born into white supremacy in America. If them
That's no
pussies over there on the
excuse.
We're
continent,
African
That's
blood.
no
them
excuse.
pussies at 80%, if them pussies at 80% black on the continent wasn't so fucking pussy, it wouldn't
You
be
like
no
talking
white
about
supremacy.
yourself.
Yeah,
You
but
have
that's
black
no
supremacy. No, I'm
that's no
talking about them
excuse.
niggas you love.
That's
I
no
don't give a
excuse.
Nigga, how you walk around with
that's
Nah,
no-
the
African
issue.
blood and talk
And
about
see,
you like them? Like that shit
it's
crazy.
You
crazy.
can't
Talk about
defend.
no
Hold on,
fucking
y'all can't
it
defend the
becomes
African. You cannot defend the African. There's no need to. He's not hurting Africans or Africa. Get that point across first. Then you can have the real informative conversation. Because as long as
No, so I'm not tripping off of that. I'm saying like that's like a nigga sitting there saying you African booty scratcher, and then you find out you're fucking African. Look, cause you want to disassociate and go to the end of the story, right?
There's
And say,
nothing to
hey, we
disassociate.
here now.
This
Hey,
is
bruh,
niggas
I'm not
wanna
finished
be
making
African.
my point.
Hold on, let
I
me
let
get
you
this
get
point
your
out.
shit off. Just because you want to start at the end of the story and say I'm the people that's black now. Well, black people descended from some shit, my nigga. So when you sit over and talk about your ancestors,
culture
it's
we
though
still see
you're not
in the
you.
black
Who the
community
fuck are
today.
you?
Yeah, I
What
don't
part
care
of
about
indigenous culture
yeah,
do we
like
see?
y'all really not talking
So
to him about
what-
what he's talking about.
Well, I'm trying to figure out what link. So what are we talking about?
We talking about
We
modern
talking
black
about people.
modern black people. That's what it ain't got nothing to do with indigenous. It ain't got nothing to do with slavery. It ain't got nothing to do with none of that shit. He's a black man.
No,
White.
I addressed that. I said he wanted to start at the end of the story. I get that, but that's childish though. That's not the fact.
That's
here.
not
Fact from how
helping
we
the
got here.
Starting at the
You
end
can't start at the end of the story.
I
and
want to get
formulate
the
a
information,
solution,
though, bro.
It don't work like that.
He obviously not calling it the end of the story. That's something that because we categorize it as that. But it's a start for him. That's where he's starting this shit at. It didn't start in Africa. It started on this soil.
Yeah, I'm not even starting there. What I'm saying, when you say the end of the story, to me, the end of the story still ain't played out. These motherfuckers we cannot continue to sit around and talk about white supremacy on a continent with 80% black people on it.
Man,
that's
Splurge,
bullshit.
please unsubscribe, Splurge, right now. Please
That's
unsubscribe.
bullshit, brother.
But you can't
we don't
start
kiss nobody
here.
ass to
You
come over
can't
here.
You can't start in modern times trying to explain how the fuck you got here and then say where you finna go. If you don't even know how you got here.
He can.
Like, what the fuck are you talking
gotta
about?
get his paradigm, bro. He can.
I guess you can. Bro, but that ain't no...
Y'all doing too much.
I get him saying he can,
talk,
but
bro.
that's some escapism ass shit, my nigga.
No, bro.
That's
Escapism is when you
shit.
niggas sit back
Man,
in the
bro.
good dynasty.
The problem is y'all trying to find the enemy in each other. The problem is y'all trying to find the enemy in each other. He's categorizing you because he's uncomfortable with you and what you saying. You categorizing him because you're offended by what he's saying. And neither one of y'all are the problem. But you're literally trying to find the solution and arguing with each other instead of recognizing what the common problem is. It doesn't matter if it's antiquity. It doesn't matter if it's modern.
Common problem?
The common problem.
What do you think the common problem is?
The common problem is that we're black in America, which means a condition.
It
means a condition.
Let me say this real quick. I just came on to say that we have a new member, and we get a lot of Kevin Samuels supporters joining the league, so it should be interesting. I hope that won't be the theme of season 4, but we have another pro Kevin Samuels. Yeah, a member wants to join the league. I just wanted to throw that out there. It's a good conversation, though. I think that Taz has a point because of that bullshit ass. What's that shit? Don't be critical race theory. That's the mentality that critical race theory bullshit creates. See, they program us. I'm telling you, they program us to be victims. You know, they program us to be victims. And that's all that shit is. And that's part of, whitewashing history. That's part of, making the African seem to be a savage. and not showing how long the African fought back, and not showing the actual true history of Africa. Taz is the result of that.
The worship continues. Fuck Africa and fuck everybody who want to suck the niggas off.
I mean,
the niggas is fucking losers, bro. And there's no way you gonna get somebody like me.
Bro, don't nobody romanticize Africa, but
you're not gonna. They've never done anything, bro.
Like, what was the first free state in the Americas?
Niggas want to live.
What was the first free state of the Americas?
Shake something today. Shake something today. I don't give a fuck about Kemet or none of that. That shit is
I don't give a fuck about Kemet.
But that's what niggas living on.
No. I mean, you got a narrative. You got a narrative that you're going with. That's not part of the conversation, bro. You got a narrative that you're going with. That's not part of the conversation. The reason why Africa,
what is part of the conversation?
The reason why Africa is brought up. The reason why Africa is brought up in the conversation is because when they began to colonize, that was one of the main areas that they
traveling backwards on the calendar. No matter how you put it, no matter how far back you go, we're traveling on the calendar backwards to when they lost. That don't mean
you leave today,
to when the losers lost.
That don't mean you leave today. That don't mean you leave today.
He can't stand knowing he got his ass whooped at one point.
Give your motherfucking losing ass.
Bro, you wouldn't be in this position today, nigga.
You're a loser. Are you fucking kidding me?
You would not be in this position today if your ancestors get their ass whooped.
Still getting their ass whooped on their own land. The white man on their land taking that.
No, they gaining way more territory than what they want. They're gaining way more. They're gaining.
Where's the white man on the land?
They're gaining way more land.
Where? Whoa. Let's start from here. Because this is the issue when we don't understand the system. Where is the white man at on the land that Africa taking?
Everywhere where they're trading resources for the ability to build highways. So Tanzania, Zimbabwe, and many other different places are being trading their resources.
Everywhere where they're trading
their resources off.
We some of the oldest merchants. That's nothing.
What are they going to do with the resources? See, and this is the point. What are those resources used for?
Say it again.
They have an abundance.
What are those resources used for?
Building infrastructure.
It's used for the Chinese to build on their shit. What do you mean?
Yeah. The resources are used for the Chinese to build on their shit.
Why would you think that was a serious answer, bro? You cannot have this.
Why
you think you got it?
Stick to American history, Taz. Yeah. Stick to American history, Taz.
Okay, well, I just come on here and present the shit to the African lovers. You know what I'm saying? It's nothing to me. I shit all over your fucking continent with facts. No matter how much you love it, no matter how much you love it, them niggas got their ass whooped.
We don't care about
and they trade everything off. They people off. We know we got going over there. They crying about Chinese motherfuckers marrying their women and shit. They're fucking losers.
They're really not losers.
You're crying about.
You're finna.
I'm gonna show you them crying. This ain't no fucking propaganda.
Africa is
and the
not
numbers ain't gonna sustain it. That's just like hold on, because you made the statement. Hold on, bro, because you made the statement before that Africans be coming over here. Does that still stand?
Say it again.
You said Africans be coming over here. They be running over here because this is the better life. Does that still stand?
Of course they do. You know they do.
What percentage of Africans is coming over here?
Whatever percentage America allows.
It's 1%. You talking about whatever
that's the percentage that America allows.
That's the percent that they had to bring over here.
Most of they allow.
Because most of the Africans is over here are Sudanese, in which are refugees from wars that they started. They wouldn't even be here if America wasn't. And the only reason why it's disrupted, so we can sit up here and and this is what gets sad. It's more Mexicans leaving America, bro, going back to Mexico than Mexicans crossing the fucking border. But niggas will have that shit on their list as our problem.
Yeah.
Mexicans ain't, the border ain't our problem. All other shit ain't our problem. Africans ain't our problem. The issue is there's a whole system set up. It's a world system set up that's built on if you're black, then it's a certain amount or it's a certain status that you're automatically associated with. As a whole, all of our countries get 1/10 of a vote on the world trade. It ain't about what you got. It's a whole world economic system. Niggas is doing what we always do. They doing the same thing that we try to do. Play things the right way.
Why don't they have their own
build infrastructure? What is how do
why
you just
are they operating on the
system?
I'm just asking, I'm at bruh, why are they operating on the white man's economic system if they got their own
When
resources?
has the world ever not operated on the world system?
This is crazy.
No, they have their own
You
system.
can't separate
They
that.
have their own system. They have their own trading system. And then there's a world
They
system.
really don't, bro.
They really do. They trade with each other. Just like Muammar Gaddafi was finna put the dinar and stop accepting the euro and stop accepting the American
Just like they got the African Union.
That's because they got their own shit. But in the global connection,
that was never implemented though. They never was able to implement it.
You can't implement that stuff.
I know he died, but they have their own.
He implemented it in his country, but they killed him off.
The problem is we don't recognize nothing if we don't use it. There's an African trading system,
right?
But we don't recognize it as a trading system, but it exists. They trade
so
without using
it.
They trade without using the dollar and the euro. They fuck with each other.
Right. Mm-hmm.
And then there's a global system where they know they trade on this type of market. And they use the dollar and the euro, huh? They use the dollar.
I'm saying right.
Well, there is a significant amount of raw materials coming out of Africa to support
all the other countries.
All of the raw materials come out of Africa. What materials does the land of America provide, bro?
But do you believe that that's is a form of exploitation? Is what I'm saying.
I don't give a fuck about that.
Africa was the last place to be fully conquered. So that's why they still doing it.
I mean, is it a form of exploitation? Is it a form of exploitation and borderline slavery?
You might as well say, because the way that they run the global system, they able to mark their money down to where their money don't matter as much in the global system. So when they buy shit from them, it seems like to us, like Swar said, it seems like to us, they buying it for pennies on the dollar. But in the value of the African
I think that's what
in the value of the African system, that's money to them.
That's what Taz was trying to say. That's what Taz was trying to say.
But Taz is at the table with the person. So at the end of the day,
for them to be allowed to do that without no pushback, I think that's what Taz is saying. Like
more sugar.
There is pushback, but you gotta know what's going on.
You putting more on this nigga's story than you.
Well, he didn't have really the reference to prove his point, but he is correct.
Oh no, I'm gonna do a video. About it. And when I'm done with it, you're not gonna say shit.
I don't even think you know what Solar just said. Like,
bro, exactly what he said.
Bro, you can't do nothing to Africa, bro.
He somewhat represented my position, but that's not my position.
The greatest continent has always been the greatest continent. It still is the greatest continent. The only reason these other continents are able to act like they're something is because they're in trade with Africa. The African man and woman. The African man and woman. The African man and woman has been at war.
You're making my point.
Because it's a different mentality.
The African man and woman has been at war for thousands of years. Thousands.
Thank you.
This is the same war that's going on. And now, guess what? Just like these other motherfuckers, they're making treaties with them. They're negotiating with them. It's not just running in there raping and taking shit. The African been taking shit from them. In some places they had to give it back. In some places they can't do shit about it. Get your ass off this land or we're killing you. This ours. So if you want to blanket all the Africans into anything, you're ignorant. And if you want to sit up here and just handpick instances where shit happened that you don't even have a base.
You don't even.
Nigga, fuck what you talking about. You don't
You
say
ain't
that
got no
shit.
reference of fighting
You
for
don't
your
say that shit
Like,
when
what is
niggas
your
sucking off
reference
the
of?
whole continent. So don't try that shit with
How
me
come?
now,
Well,
nigga.
Taz,
I think
Taz, you gotta recognize who you talking to.
it's a
I do.
proverbial middle ground.
Next time, call them niggas ignorant.
No,
When they just
you
throwing
gotta
around
recognize who
pockets.
you talking to. I have. You're
But
not
you didn't
talking
say
to
it
none of them
today.
niggas, bro.
You ain't saying
You
today.
a lie.
Bro,
You ain't
Bro,
saying
you don't
today.
romanticize that.
Bro,
You tripping.
it is being
They
wrong.
are.
What and what?
They,
Hold
Well,
on.
because
Fuck
what
it, bro.
Suave
Because
is
I need to
saying
get a conversation, bro. I
is
can't
true,
do
can
this
be
5 people
shown.
talking, bro. If he really ain't on shit. He really just hit an emotional motherfucking mark, and he's going to handpick some fucking instances to bring an anti-African propaganda, which is all it is. You're looking at the worst of Africa, and you're saying, "Look at that. That's what they are." Meanwhile, you have zero in America, zero. And you're mad at the African because they're so
You don't got nothing to do.
You're mad at the African because they're so important.
Hey, what am I supposed to do in America?
You ain't gonna stand
You're
up for
supposed to
shit
sit
that you
here and
did.
buy the amenities and die, bro.
I'm gonna stand up for everything that's mine. What do you mean?
Okay, well,
but we
recognize you
don't
got
have
land
nothing.
that you own.
Africans
Stand up
got
for
ran through,
your
nigga.
body.
Deal with it.
No,
They
they're
ran
not.
through
They're
just
at
like you other
war.
black
They're
men
at
that
They got
war.
ran through.
The
nigga.
people who
They got
gave you
ran
your
through.
last name got ran through. Those people still have land, businesses, and a military. You have none of that. The people who gave you your facial features got
Who
ran
got a
through.
military?
The people who
Who
gave you
got a
your
military?
voice and
Who got a
your
military?
height, they got ran
Who
through
got
with
a
their weak
military,
ass.
nigga?
Those motherfucking Africans, they still in the newspaper.
The same
Your
nigga
people
that just
is
said
dead and
that.
forgotten,
man.
nigga.
Look at trolling.
Your name is
Nigeria.
Taz
Ignorant
Exclusive
show.
the GOAT. Their
Y'all
name is
ignorant
still
show, nigga.
Gambia,
What's the
South
African
America.
army,
Uganda,
nigga?
Nigeria. Their
Nigeria.
name is still that
Stupid
name. Your
trolling.
name is not Taz the GOAT.
Right,
Still
they're
got
not
the
one
military.
unified army. When you get one unified
Why
Nobody
would
said
they
that.
do a unified army,
And
bro?
no,
Why would they do one unified army?
no. He's right about that because if it's been a constant issue of foreigners coming in from that are non-African, and that's what Gaddafi was trying to do. Like, let's unite Africa to prevent that shit from happening. You know what I mean? That would be the best solution to that problem. And that's how all the other nations got united. That's how Europe got united. That's how
It'd be hard to
that's how
do that, though.
the Asian nations, they have an Asian union. You know,
can't just get land in Africa unless you're from Africa.
and they create and the melting pot will be China. No different than what happened in the early 1900s in America. That what they do is they immigrant other Asians and I guess almost whiten it up. The same concept. So China would be like the white man, and they have this hierarchy even within the Asian, So
that's right.
They'll go up to China, like a Cambodian will go up to China to whiten up to the Chinese. So
China got niggas in concentration camps right now.
Yeah, well, it's forms of oppression that's going on up there, but it's the same concept.
Concentration, not even forms of oppression, nigga. Like the Uyghurs,
no, you right.
Nigga, they got re-education. No, not working 16. Re-education camps.
Right.
Yeah. You know what I'm saying?
That's no different than, just a different method to try to get the same solution. That's no different than what goes on in America with what we were just talking about, the Irish.
I don't, but it is a little bit more nuanced than that. I mean, cause like these re-education camps, they literally raping the women in front of their male family members to get them to not be Muslim. You know what I'm saying? So that's a little bit more on the more extreme, and they've been doing it for damn near 10 years now.
Well, they were doing the same shit in America. They was hanging. They were the hanging Irish. They were raping the women.
Bro, that's what I'm saying. Like we white, and when we talk about levels of fucked up shit. But what I'm saying is like
you got to remember, like, now at this day and time, remember
they only started.
The rubric was created by the European. This is what he initiated. So Asia is just following suit. So they have their own specific methods of doing the same shit and getting the same outcome.
And they would still be hanging us to an extent and raping our women in front of us if we didn't kill shit. Like, my niggas talking about we was weak. Like, we was still going through that shit right now, Taz. if we weren't killing shit.
But this is I think this is what Taz's point is. This is what Taz's point is, I believe. Maybe you correct. There's no group of Africans. There's no group of Africans that's doing to China what China is doing to Africa.
When I just made that reference, was I talking about Africans?
That's because they don't want
Hold on, Blue. Because these niggas just ran over Africa when I went to America. I was talking about America. I was talking about America.
They don't have the capacity to do that.
But that's bullshit.
There's nobody. African military, like there is not one African military that has the capacity to go over into China and take shit from China.
That's what Taz's point is. That means, so he's going. So he's using the term that you are losers and you are cowards.
Okay, and that's fine and dandy. When I just referenced some that was dealing with American soil, y'all ran over to Africa.
No.
I will address that because y'all running everything together. But then when we sit over here and say we Africans, y'all say which country? Y'all ain't even putting a country on that shit. Y'all just saying that shit happened.
Yes, Big Z. They were lynching Irishmen.
Not to mention
in the early 1960s.
Africa was the last continent to be colonized, and y'all sit over here talking all that good shit. Why? Was they the last motherfuckers to be colonized? Why? Motherfucker, how many niggas died before they were actually able to colonize them? Like, you ain't answering that shit.
Hold on.
What is this nigga saying? I said, how many people died before they was actually able to colonize the continent? And the only reason why we free over here is because we killed shit. So then they actually had to kill people over there.
No. I mean, Grandma got a point though. He got a point. Those years lasted over like 200 years. Like you talking like the Santi Wars and the different wars during the colonization.
What are you talking about?
Bro, it
fight for a long time.
It's not a question of whether or not they fought. They still fight.
They still fight. They still fight, and they still got their culture to this day because of they fight.
The question ain't about the fight, nigga. The question ain't about the fight. You know, nigga. The question ain't the fight. Hold on. The result.
If that's the case, then we might as well say everybody weak because everybody under this global system like Blue broke down. What the fuck is you talking about? But guess what though? Hold on. When y'all say guess what though? When you boil it back down to America, hold on, bro. America's a melting pot of a whole group of cultures. So I mean, everybody ran over.
America's not how are we escaping being out in the world?
Y'all niggas.
This nigga said a melting pot. This ain't no fucking melting pot.
So when you go to war with America, you only see white soldiers. I'm listening.
That's not the point.
I'm listening, Domo.
They don't make it a melting pot, nigga. No, but that still don't make it.
So when you look at our government, you only see white people.
For the most part,
I don't really,
nigga. Okay, so I brought up the military because that's who enforced shit. Hold on, bro. We getting somewhere now. I brought up the military because they enforce this shit, right? They enforce shit, right? Don't military enforce shit?
That's what I'm saying. We gotta
y'all niggas don't want to address that.
Who control the military?
Keep on running,
the military.
Bro, I did not say. Hold on. What they?
I ain't there. So bringing up the military.
Who do they study? Who do they study? What are you talking about? To even do their military practice? Who is Hannibal?
Like nigga, the black people that you see in the military are bodies, nigga. They're bodies, nigga. What is you talking about?
Right, no more.
Ain't nobody trying to overlook nothing. You just making bad examples. I don't even agree. I don't even agree with calling Africa motherfucking losers, but the romanticize and shit. Like, yeah,
but
the way these niggas romanticize this shit is like,
where am I romanticizing? Fuck all that other shit. Where am I?
The result.
What result did I speak to, nigga? You brought up results when I made a point. Y'all keep running.
That's your problem. I know that. That's your problem.
Bro, I bring up a point, you make another point.
It's a reason why you don't talk about results, nigga. It's a reason why you don't talk about results.
Anything, hey, bro, you know how you think. You know how you think. You can only, guess what? You can only tell people how you think. You're not in my fucking head. So go ahead and let us know how you think.
I'm not trying to
go ahead and let us know how you think since you think it's how I feel. Tell me what you think I think. Let's go. Let's go, bro. Yeah, my actions. You and my
oh, man. I really
bougie shit. I can't stand, bro.
That's what I'm saying.
You don't know shit about my life. Niggas over here talking about your actions. You don't know nothing about my life.
I don't know what you saying on this fucking panel. You fucking
bro. You just went there, bro.
About the rest of your life, nigga.
You said that shit. Right.
Nigga, that's what you saying on this panel. Nigga, not your actions in your life.
I'm talking about what you said on this panel. Okay, well, just
Yes,
the fact that I made a
you
point and you went to another point.
Fuck your point.
Like,
You
nigga,
stupid.
you run
Fuck your
it.
point.
Fuck out
Fuck
of
your
here.
point. You stupid.
You stupid. You can't stick to the
Don't
point.
talk about what I'm doing in my real life.
Stick
And I
to the
killed your
point.
point. Your point
Stick
dead,
to
nigga.
the point, nigga. You made another point, nigga.
Your
Fuck
point
that.
dead, nigga.
I know it's
What
dead
you
because
talking
Doma
about?
said it. I'm
No,
glad
I killed
I'm
it,
glad
nigga.
somebody passed
It's dead
you
because I
back
killed
so
it, nigga.
that one. I
What
didn't
you
need that,
talking
nigga.
about?
I was already making the point and you
I
needed
don't
to
give
make
a fuck.
another
And it
one
was dead.
so
You was
you
making
can
a
run
bad
from my
point.
point.
You was making a
Yep, I
bad
know.
point, and I
That's why
addressed
you
your
couldn't
bad
address
point.
it. That's why
I
you
did.
can't address it.
I did. And when I did, you was like, don't talk about my real life. You don't know
right.
me.
You addressed
Talk about
it
my
by
real
taking
life.
a personal. And then when I say you taking a personal, I'm
Nigga,
not
you
making
took
it
it personal.
I'm
What the
not
fuck is
making
you
it
talking
personal.
about, nigga?
I'm not making
That
it
shit
personal. I can tell why you don't deal with results. What the fuck ain't personal about
everybody?
that?
Everybody
talking to.
Because I'm talking about what you're saying on the fucking panel in terms of the rules.
Right. Okay, so then address my point, nigga. I still not addressing it though. The fact that motherfuckers want to not deal with the fact that Africa was colonized last, but you want to talk about they weak. Nigga, all the rest of you niggas got colonized first. So how the fuck matter?
What does it
No.
like, that is stupid,
What
bro.
does it matter
That is
now?
stupid.
What does it matter? That's tell you how lost you is in the conversation. You don't know why that matters. The fuck?
Nigga, I want to know
So we
why
gonna monetize this some shit, bro. That's
whether
how
you
we
got
gonna
the
shit.
whether
You
your
was the
ass got
last
kicked first or whether you was the last to take the headshot, you got your ass kicked.
I know. And you got your ass kicked first.
We got bro. We lost. Damn. I don't know. I don't even understand why is that shit that hard to say. We lost.
Right.
Okay. We lost. But I'm saying we lost.
Right, y'all lost.
That nigga got that escapism. He can't tell why his ass hurt. Why he butt hurt right now. But you got your ass whooped too, nigga.
Y'all lost.
Different.
Last time I checked, you look like me and I look like you. So, nigga, if I got my ass kicked, what the fuck happened to you, nigga? You was on their side? You the reason why I lost, nigga? You the reason why we lost?
If you want to talk about America, if you want to talk about why we're losing, why are we losing? You want to talk about why we losing? You want to talk about why we losing right now? You want to talk about why we getting our ass kicked right now?
Because niggas don't want to deal with the fact that the motherfucking past.
Niggas hard right. That's why we
deal
still
with the
getting our
facts of
ass
the past.
kicked, nigga. Get your mind off that continent and start doing something here.
Like what?
That.
There you go with that shit. Don't that same shit, bro. We did
Like what? Like what do you mean? Like what? Like the same way you telling me that they're fighting for themselves.
What should we be doing here? Fighting like what? What should we be doing?
Well, if you telling me that you want control of this system, you should be going to take control of it, right?
I would want. Why would I want control of this system?
So what do you want? What do you want out of it?
Out of what? Out of the fight? I'm asking you, what should we be doing here? What should black people be doing?
I don't know what you
don't got no answers.
I don't know what you want to do.
We don't got no answers, bro.
What do you want
to do?
What do you want to do?
Destroy this system.
Right. So again, you destroy it like they destroyed the last one.
What, infiltrate from within? Because they showed it square up while y'all front.
They definitely squared up and kicked the motherfuckers out.
We don't have to use
bullshit.
The thing is,
we don't. Sound your ass shit for you to say, nigga.
We don't have to.
There was never.
No, that's a lie.
So they did.
So they know it's a lie.
So they didn't square up.
They did square up.
Man, you fucking savage.
We don't have to. We don't have to.
These pussy ass niggas of the past ain't square up, nigga. What do you mean?
We don't have to use the same tactics as them. Because somebody come amongst us and kill one of us, we don't have to then run into them and kill one of them. All we have to do is...
But that wasn't even the case, though, big bro. They did some covert shit. They poisoned people. They flooded their town.
I don't want to talk about what happened,
nobody.
Bro. I don't want to talk about how...
I'm talking about a solution, bro.
Let's talk about what we need to be doing.
That's what I'm trying. I'm trying my best to talk about it. That's exactly where I've been at this whole time.
But I'm trying to figure out. So, as a whole, what are we talking about when we talk about black? Are we not talking about black people? Are we just talking about individuals? What we individually want to do?
Yes, a lot of people.
You have to realize that everybody ain't on the same page, bro. So you have to speak for an individual. We all ain't on.
I mean, well, then we're done.
And so that's why I said you can have that conversation.
If that's the case,
we're cooked. He's not connected to anything sentimentally, bro. Y'all gotta really pay attention, bro.
We're cooked.
there's nothing to fight for if there.
No, Blue. Him saying that don't change reality, bro. You want Taz?
I'm talking about. No, I'm saying I know that.
You basically telling him he ain't part of the conversation.
I don't understand what we're having a conversation about. That we're talking about solution for Black people as a whole. You talking about the individual self. You might as well be talking about capitalism. Right. If you talking about the individual self, niggas should be the best capitalists they should be. That's what individualism is.
Right. The conversation
name the problem, and we can talk about the solution. Name the problem, we can talk about the solution. Just throwing shit around, system. I don't do that.
I already said capitalism.
I already said too. Motherfuckers died to create that system. Motherfuckers died to keep it in place. Are you willing to die to undermine and overthrow it? Right? So again, now
we doing it every day.
Now he wants you to go crash out, Blue. Now he wants you to go crash out.
You part of a minority, Blue?
I'm not willing to kill. I'm willing to die.
But are you part of a minority with that understanding, Blue?
No.
So where everybody at?
We're here.
You're alone. Niggas dying and fighting every day.
You're the minority on this panel, bro.
Yeah, this is crazy. So you telling me that people are fighting? Because I would say
when people die in America, what you think they dying over, Taz? Hold on, Taz.
Like, what are y'all talking about?
Taz, when people die in America, like you think they still fighting over the same resources like people was fighting in ancient times, or what they dying for?
They dying for nothing. What do you mean?
Oh shit! Like, bro, like where the fuck do you live? Is nothing? Nothing comes to mind. Nothing.
Bro, like, do you think going to riot in Black Lives Matter?
I did not say nothing about no riot. Stop with that escapism talk. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking simply to you. I said, when people die, what do they die for?
I'm telling you that since niggas don't do shit and ain't nobody.
Man, that's that bullshit, man. Nigga, you don't want to have a conversation, man. Just say that shit. Say you don't want to have a conversation. I gave you a clear context.
And I gave
in ancient time, people would die because they didn't have resources. No, listen. Ancient time, people would die because they didn't have resources. Ain't nothing new under the sun, my nigga. We dying over resources. And if capitalism has a stronghold on the resources, guess what? Every motherfucker that died was a casualty of that same fucking war. But you think I'm romanticizing it because you disconnect every fucking thing. You can't connect the dots, so you can't never fight this battle. You think you gotta pick up a gun and be shooting at this invisible person who's fighting covertly when it's not an overt battle.
My argument, and this is the ordeal. My argument ain't even got nothing to do with even leaving or any of that. My argument is the fact of if you think our situation here is going to get to a situation where we actually have some sort of control and some sort of power without what happens without what goes on in Africa, that's just crazy. That's not going to happen. We don't have what
everybody that come in power use Africa as their stronghold.
Yeah, resources. Of course, you're gonna need the resources. You don't have
conversation. I was just trying to have. I'm talking.
There's none here, bro. If they leave us to this land, what resources are here?
The repetitive.
What resources are in this land?
What does that have to do with fighting?
We couldn't make a cell phone with it. What do
you don't know what you fighting for, then what the fuck is you talking about?
To do with fighting. Right, but that's
you don't know what we fighting for. That's why we talking to you about resources.
Fighting. That's what I'm saying. Like we are not fighting. You just said when somebody died.
Yes, we are.
So if they died for something, what did they die for, Goldman?
Yes, we are.
Man, each individual with since you like the individual conversation, each individual represents their own
doesn't mean that you
right.
That doesn't have to be physical.
What did Tamir Rice die for?
Okay, so when the person dies, Taz, everybody pays attention.
For nothing.
No. Everybody
dies for nothing, bro.
Everybody pays attention to the point.
No, hold on, bro.
Let him get his thought out, though, Blue. We get your answer.
But that's serious, though. He died for nothing, bro. We talking about Tamir Rice.
He died for nothing. Now let Goldman get his point up. We get it.
All right, when somebody dies, everybody has to pay attention. Now, we so used to living this life we've been living that we don't think nothing of it until a child get caught in the crossfire and get shot. And it's like, hold on, bro. This whole system is based on resources, and we find different ways to insulate the resources and protect it with police officers and different ways to enforce this shit. Now here it is, the thing that we had set up to protect the resources from outsiders just cost us a child. So whenever a child or anybody dies, we should pay attention unless you're too insensitive to how life works. So when I bring up resources, this is how life works. And it ain't just start today. So if you want to know how to be successful today, it don't hurt to look in the past. It don't mean you romanticizing the fucking past. Pay attention to where they slipped up at. But don't get it twisted. To sit here and try to act like we was waiting on somebody else to be born to show how life was to go, you got it all twisted. You can learn something from anybody, including your own people. Like, I ain't gonna get too far into that shit. Niggas don't take blood tests.
Tamir Rice died for nothing because Tamir Rice was not fighting. He was a child. He was playing. He was murdered.
So
whatever we gained out of that, personally as a whole, he did not do that. That came from
nobody intends to die and be an example.
That came from the experience of that event. He was a child. He wasn't supposed to be trying to fight and die for nothing.
No, I get that part, but nobody. Be just real quick, bro, because I don't want this to take away from what you're saying. But I'm saying when I say that, because I don't want nobody to be like, this nigga on psychotic shit. No, not you, because I thought about it when you said that. Okay, what I'm saying, each one of our deaths should be a reverberation or a vibration sent out for everybody to stop and think about what we doing. Like, what are we doing every day that certain people really are dying from a lack of resources? This little boy ain't have nowhere to play for real.
Nah, with no fucking resources, bro. Like,
oh my God. This is funny. People don't die for resources, I get it. You don't get that.
Rice type of resource.
Bro, okay, he obviously didn't have no safe place to play. He ain't had that resource. The fuck is you talking about? Like, yeah, that's funny.
Oh man, this is
but
sad.
until it's somebody else's kid is closer to you, then it's not funny. Then nobody has nowhere to play and be a kid.
You can't say that, man. Like
that
that's what
retarded,
we keep. You can't personalize it with him, bro. You can't personalize it with him, bro. Like, get the cut, my nigga.
No, that's natural. I'm saying it's natural for a human being to give a fuck when it matters. That's all I said. I wasn't trying to say I hope something happens to nobody you love.
No, I didn't say you did. My point is,
I might give too much of a fuck. I might give too much of a fuck because listen, bro. You're not about to convince me that Tamir Rice died over something to do with resources. That's a motherfucking cop who operated under his own motherfucking actions and didn't shit happen to him for it. Didn't nobody do shit. He didn't get charged. Tamir Rice died for nothing. And nobody.
That's what I'm saying, man. I don't even. That's not. This ain't even.
I get what y'all mean when y'all say he died for nothing, but y'all can't connect the dot and resources. How this shit can be utilized on many different levels. This nigga, the police officer didn't have the resources to get the proper training. Is that better?
No.
Is that better?
No.
Oh, the country didn't have the resources to change the way he thought before he seen the child.
No, we have
to, is that better?
They well trained.
No, it's not gonna work.
Yeah, well, Trey, you don't understand resources.
We have to be direct. We have to be direct. All that linking stuff to Lincoln, don't nobody give a fuck about that. That's our struggle. That's ours. We could do that. But what I'm saying, he was playing in the parking lot where his people played Texas. It wasn't a shortage of resources. He was playing in a playground, my bad. A playground. It was a playground. That means his people had access to that resource for his child to play. He wasn't playing on a battlefield. He wasn't playing at a crime scene. He wasn't playing in the cop training fucking building. The cops came to that playground and killed him. Now, what that is what it is. But we definitely can't expect someone who would say, hey, fuck it, all of Africa just weak because they come. To sit up here and give any type of understanding of what you're trying to break down, you got to get straight to the point and be direct, bro. The fact that a person doesn't connect themselves to anything, doesn't see the same battle, and say, hey, I'm running from my car, my home, my girl, my kids, my clothes. That's my struggle.
So this is my question. What happens with how are we do you understand how our comfortability is directly affected by the move that Africa makes as a whole? Like, let's just say they do get united, and as a whole, what happens to Black people in America and their comfortability?
I don't do ifs, ands, and buts about Africa or none of that, bro.
It's nothing, bro. It's nothing you can. He's not going to stand.
It's politics.
He got no answers.
You don't understand that's
He
politics.
has no suggestions. All he got is critique. Super extreme critique. Then what should we do
Right,
about
but
it?
what you fail to realize is I'm not critiquing anything. He asked me a if. I know y'all like to dibble and dabble on your continent full of losers. I'm not doing no ifs.
That's what I was talking about. I wasn't talking about that question. I don't know why they asked you questions. I do not.
Implying that I can't answer a question that isn't based on an if. That's wrong.
That's not what I'm implying. I'm implying that you don't give answers that tie you to any accountability. All your answers loose you of accountability and put you on an individual level where you're doing fine. Therefore, your fight is being won. I respect that.
How is my fight being won when Tamir Rice is my fight? When what happened to him is my fight? When I said Tamir Rice, we didn't do shit about that. Did you hear that? I said
what should we be doing?
No, I didn't hear you say we. I heard you say
niggas. What should we be doing?
I heard you say niggas didn't do nothing about it.
Flip one of them motherfuckers. And when some shit happened,
why would you do that as an American?
Say what?
Why would you do that as an American?
Why would you do what?
He did go through the legal process, right?
Wait, why would you do what as an American?
Now how you know did nobody split some shit?
But Taz still black.
Why would you split some shit as an American?
As a black American.
As a black American? Nigga, you don't have to split some shit at some point as a black American.
Take black away from him.
Why?
You're gonna have to split that is the hit fit.
But what is that going? And then so splitting some shit as a black American, what does that do? What's the result?
To be honest, I feel like we get better results when shit is on fire, when people get fucked up. The results are gonna be whatever results we desire. After
the Watts riot, the results got better for us?
The results got better on paper. Did it play out on paper? Did it play out? Yes. But did it play out that way? No. But why didn't it play out that way? Because after the Watts riots and you started seeing shit happen on paper, after the Civil Rights Act, Voting Rights Act, all these, what did you see? Nothing else. No more legislation. You have people in the streets, you have movements going on, but nothing else was happening on paper. Niggas didn't stand more on paper.
Do we need? So what do we need on paper?
Well,
what should we have put down on paper for black people? What would stop police officers
at that time? Nothing's gonna stop a fucking terrorist ass police officer. But at that time, there were things accepted that probably work against us now because what they thought was that it was for black people. Affirmative action was supposed to be for us. For example, the fact that they were able to slip that through, people didn't understand it. Now we're 40, 50 years beyond it, and so many people have benefited from it that wasn't supposed to. Now we understand it. But if you fight in between that time and now, we would have more tangible to show as to why we weren't going for affirmative action, but we took it. There are plenty of ways we could have fought and didn't fight.
But this is I think we have an issue because it's already in the 14th Amendment that nobody else should be able to fall under the line of black people. Like you can't group black people with other groups. So that's a violation of the 14th Amendment.
What does say that?
The 14th Amendment, you can't group black people with other groups. We're a separate entity, according to the 4th Amendment. 14th Amendment.
That's not. Pull up the 14th Amendment. That's not the 14th Amendment.
I'm not gonna put the part right.
One interesting note about that affirmative action shit is that white girl.
Section 1 of the 14th Amendment. It says. Section 1 of the 14th Amendment says, all persons born on natural
persons, nigga, that's all I need you to read. All persons. What the fuck is he talking about? Like, that's what I'm saying, man. Like, come on.
You reading it?
All persons. The 14th Amendment applies to us because of the time period.
It says, all persons born or naturalized in the United States and subject to jurisdiction thereof are citizens of the United States and of the state wherein they reside. No state shall make or enforce any law which shall abridge the privileges or immunities of citizens of the United States, nor shall any state deprive any person of life, liberty, or property without due process of law, nor deny to any person within its jurisdiction the equal protection of the laws.
No, that's not what I'm talking about.
He's about the 13th Amendment?
No. I think it was the 4th. Is that all of the 14th Amendment?
Well, that was Section 1. They got other sections.
Yeah, that's not because that ain't on the same subject as I was talking about. Now this is specifically dealing with how you deal with.
That's about citizenship and the rights under the citizens.
Yeah,
right, but what 14th Amendment only references us in reference to how we were being handled at the time. That's what I'm saying. It's not. It's to include Black people after the abolition of slavery. Is to restore the rights that you're supposed to have that were never put on paper. So now it's all
put them under the umbrella.
It's integration.
Right. And
I don't really see nothing out of the 5 sections. Anything
people don't understand that point right there, Swab, because I argue with people about that shit all the time. This is the initial integration. People think that we were initially integrated before we were segregated.
Hold on, I'm for that. Let me get upstairs. I'm finna check too. Cause the one what I was talking about, it's almost. I ain't really repeated verbatim, but it's almost damn near like how exactly what I was talking about. Cause that's like a different situation. This was more so dealing with like just how we was dealt with, or how to deal with us in general when it comes down to like.
You saying there's an amendment saying that?
Yeah.
No.
No, I don't think it's an amendment saying that, bro.
What he's talking about possibly is the 15th, which was the voting rights. And it's not how to handle us, it's that we can vote.
Right, and we represent ourselves, basically. I guess is what he was
But I thought that we was a separate, like, hold on, like grouping us with you couldn't group us with immigrants and stuff like that, or other entities like LGBT and different stuff like that. Like linking us, what I was looking at, it was like basically saying linking us to like a LGBT and different groups like that is a violation of this amendment.
No. I never said that.
So this would be Section 1 of the 15th Amendment. It says the right of citizens of the United States to vote shall not be denied or abridged by the United States or by any state on account of race, color, or previous condition of servitude.
Yeah, that's about the only one that's directly referencing our blackness, and that's because again, we talking about a time when they just went and burnt up some shit down in Georgia. They just went.
I mean, yeah, but still, that is not. I mean, it may be predicated off what happened, but it's not specifically for us because there's other people that can fall into this category. There's a race, color, or previous condition of servitude. Yeah, all those things apply to us, but it can apply to a Pakistani that comes over here, or Chinese person that comes over here. So there's nothing really specifically, I would say, like that says African Americans that I read.
Look at 13th though, because I referenced the 13th.
I threw the 13th out there.
I don't think it's the 13th. Because whatever this was, I was afraid.
But I want something. But I want him to look at it because I think 13th actually has African in it.
Yeah, it might be.
It says because neither slavery nor involuntary servitude, except as a punishment for a crime whereof the party shall have been duly convicted, shall exist within the United States.
I'm gonna come in at 1:30. That's just my bad, man.
It says neither slavery nor involuntary servitude, except as a punishment of crime, whereof the party shall have been duly convicted, shall exist within the United States or any place subject to their jurisdiction. Congress shall have power to enforce this article by appropriate legislation. I guess it gotta be the more sensitive version. But yeah, are they making Juneteenth an official holiday?
They already did.
They already did? Okay.
I was on mute, my bad.
And it shouldn't be.
Why are you
I gotta find it because I was expecting. I was actually scared
to the end of a story.
In our
That's
debate.
That's what June 19th represents. That's the end of the goddamn story.
You hear me?
They mentioned
So what do you
interpretation.
what was
What'd
it
you
that you
say,
was trying to explain, Blue? What was it that you like? What specifically did was it speaking to?
It seemed like it was like speaking to like how something like affirmative action would happen, and other groups would be able to be grouped in with us. It was saying that you can't basically, because I was afraid he was gonna bring this out in our debate, that you can't group black people with other minorities. Constitution.
Well, no, I think it's more so. I think it's that's being misinterpreted from where it says you can't make decisions based on that.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Because like that's why they
like just because
right. So it's like and that's kind of what that does. Like for example, affirmative action tells you to favor a certain group of people over another group of people, when all of the civil rights bills and legislation says don't do that, right? So I mean that's where you get most of the constitutional opposition when it comes to affirmative action. Like if it's saying that we can't create laws that specifically target one group, that means that go both ways. You can't target one group negatively, and you can't target one group positively.
But you might be talking about a Supreme Court decision or something that referenced that as maybe an opinion.
Yeah.
Someone, you know what I'm saying? Because I don't think what you're saying is in the Constitution, but them judges, you know, on that Supreme Court may have handed down a decision and used that verbiage. You know what I'm saying? If you say it,
right.
Been trying to see where you would have seen it, and that certainly could have been some Supreme Court ruling.
In an opinion, but you gotta be careful whose opinion it was.
Right, could be a dissenting opinion.
Yeah, and a dissenting opinion in the case where civil rights won out. You know what I mean? Because it's a lot of issues like that going on even right now with what they doing with the Voting Rights Act and all of that shit. In the what's it called, the For the People bill and all that shit. People forget it was parts of the Civil Rights or the Voting Rights Act that expired in like what 2013 or some shit like that. 2012 maybe.
Was it 2015? Because it was 50 years.
Was it 15?
I think it was
slavery laws.
It may have been 2015.
I think what it is, Domo, I think it ought to be updated every 25 years.
Well, now what it was is that, like if they were set to those specific laws were set to expire,
but they expire every 25 years.
Right.
And I think, if I'm not mistaken, they changed that now. I think it's permanent. But initially, it was to revisit every.
A large portion of the Voting Rights Act did not get renewed. That shit was done. Like it was a Supreme Court case to determine whether or not, like certain
in terms of. You talking under Obama, right?
Yeah, this was under Obama. Yeah.
Yeah, I remember that.
Yeah, that shit gone. You know what I'm saying? Because and that was where it was like, damn, you feel me? Like niggas actually let some like vote in terms of because it specifically targeted Southern states. There were specific states that were targeted that had different like mandates than other states. It was like Alabama, Georgia, the racist motherfuckers, pretty much. You know what I mean? And they had to, and that's why you actually see all of the restrictive voting bills that then came out recently, because a lot of the guidelines that they had to adhere to, they no longer under. You feel me? So they can fuck you over on your polling place. They can fuck you over with the legislation in terms of how that shit set up. All of that, and that's because of that shit expired. That expired in 2015. So the whole "we the people" shit was supposed to actually fix that, but then they was like, "Nah, we're not fucking with that shit either."
Y'all said it was the Ferguson ruling, 1896, 14th Amendment.
The Ferguson ruling.
Ferguson,
That's what it was.
1896, 14th Amendment. Yeah, he said,
Plessy versus Ferguson?
Which the Ferguson ruling of 1896 was litigated.
Well, it says, well, that would be, that would be the first, like you said, the first form of integration. Well, it would be
that is the Supreme Court ruling that created segregation.
Segregation, right?
Yeah,
separate but equal.
That's what you're talking about, though?
Yeah, I think that is what I was talking about.
The separate but equal doctrine.
Yeah, but I really didn't
but it
the way it was written.
Yeah, still specifically with African Americans and
because we're not we were supposed to have everything according to what's written now. We were supposed to have everything that they have at equal terms, and you can't abridge that. You can't do anything to it. You can't take anything from it. That's how it was supposed to be. So I get what you're saying now.
Yeah,
but again, it was
going to use that in the debate.
Supreme Court decision. Hell no, cause hell no, man. I'd have felt like I was dying as I was saying it, bro. Plessy versus Ferguson, nigga.
Yeah. Like that's an L for niggas, bro. That's an L.
Nigga, that's a L, my niggas. We took a L.
Well, it depends on the angle, though.
Well, not necessarily the decision, but the implementation wasn't there.
Yeah, because like what it was saying, you know what I mean? You could have been like, well, but that was breaking this law.
but that was the purpose of it, though, right? Like they knew it wasn't gonna be implemented correctly.
Right.
That was the whole shit. Like it was like, yeah, we want to establish constitutionally that y'all citizens and y'all supposed to get whatever citizens get, but as a group of people, if we choose not to fuck with you, you can't make us fuck with you. That's the right to association. You know what I'm saying? If we don't want you in our restaurants, you know what I'm saying? Like that's boom. Now
that makes perfect sense for what he was saying too. That was kind of lost. Like, what the fuck are you talking about? That makes perfect sense.
That would fit specifically for African Americans because it's not necessary, and that's the Constitution, and that's everything in a nutshell. They worded a certain type of way that if on paper it looks pretty fair. You know what I'm saying? But the implementation is where you get the issues.
Yeah, man, and fuck Judge Y'all right.
You gotta watch that on paper.
That's a good pickup, man. But still, fuck you, though, nigga. That's a good pickup, though, because he's so right, though, bro. He's so right on that one. That's definitely Plessy versus Ferguson.
Yeah,
but like I say, but Blue, man,
how would they tie that to the 14th Amendment, though?
Because that's what they based it on.
Yeah, I was gonna say, later on, that's when they're using it to say, okay, black people, we're gonna have to establish them their own shit. Don't nobody want to fuck with them because by now we fully going into Jim Crow. They just overthrew black cities in the whole nine.
Yeah.
It was supposed to be more of a protection. It was supposed to be a protection for real, but it was an L.
Oh yeah. I always seem like that with our relationship with this country. You feel me? Like they always figure out a way to turn that shit against their motherfucking ass, and that's why a lot of black people be scared to look over their own.
Man, that nigga would have beat that shit the fuck up.
No, I'm just saying,
this nigga said he thought I was gonna use
a person by law
like
don't be the same thing as you talking about it, Taz.
When niggas when you citing like somebody citing the Constitution, you gotta look over that shit 5-6 times because like again this is one person deciphering the Constitution with what they understand it to believe and all that other shit. Niggas get fucking reading the Constitution, no bullshit. That's the closest thing you're gonna get to a Bible conversation. Because niggas will read the same shit and be like, this is what this means.
Bro,
and another nigga will read it and be like,
did y'all hear this nigga though, bro? Did y'all hear this nigga? Listen, Blue. Right. I ain't no goddamn fool. If I bring up Plessy versus Ferguson
he said
during that debate, he said he thought I was gonna do it.
You said you thought he was gonna bring up Plessy versus Ferguson, Blue?
Yeah, I thought he was. I thought he was.
Them next 60 years of segregation, bro, like ain't no like you'd have beat that shit the fuck up. Like nigga, we need to hurry up and build a relationship. Nigga, we should have been building a relationship from 1900 to 1963. Nigga. We late on building a relationship. Nigga.
We need to build a new relationship.
Yeah, that shit would have got beat the fuck up, bro. Hell no.
And what's crazy, I was worried about it. I'm looking at it like, okay, he might be able to make a little separate.
But nigga, I guess I see what you're saying too. But nigga want to misrepresent it. Like, see, here it is right here.
We good. We been good. We supposed to be
niggas be doing that though. Niggas be doing that. Niggas be doing that shit all the time.
But Taz was at least honest enough to say in certain instances, like, that's just how it look on paper. Like, it look good, but nigga, we know what happened.
Nah, but that shit would have been ugly, bro.
I don't know.
That shit would have been ugly.
Domo would have tried.
I'd say about maybe 75% of the debates niggas do shit like that. They'll throw something out there that like, nigga, if this nigga do anything about, you know what I'm saying? Yeah, they throw shit out there.
I was gonna say,
let's see how much you really know about the time.
It's hard to do shit like that, man, to me, because like I'm putting myself in a box, bro. Like I ain't gonna roll the dice like that, bro. Like if it ain't real, bro, and I ain't gonna roll the dice on just hoping the nigga don't catch some shit, bro. Fuck
you hear me? The nigga say some shit like that and try to say 3 more points.
You'll be surprised.
Did you see how big his eyes got when I said something about cools, nigga? You see how quick I ran for that shit, bro? Like, nigga, that was it. Like, shit, well, I don't think I know enough about him to continue this line of questioning. You know what I'm saying? For real, nigga.
I mean, Blue started opening right there, like, whoa.
Yeah, I had a set of questions for that shit, bro. That nigga looked like he had just heard some shit that he knew something about. I backed away from that. Wait.
No. This nigga said, I'm paying attention. This nigga Taz got wherewithal while he could say, the other day you say when Reggie Miller used to do some shit, you'll be like, how did he know to shoot? I don't know how he had the wherewithal to make that shot. But nah. Nigga, I ain't know niggas be paying that much attention to each other because I caught Domo do that shit. I caught Domo do that shit with Lance. They was in like a rapid fight. Like Domo was chill the whole debate. And then I'm like, damn, did Domo have something to drink or something? But then Lance said some shit that just, caught that nigga.
I know what he said.
He caught that shit like a pop fly.
And that nigga Domo said, wait. Would she call herself Ethiopian?
Yeah.
She call herself. Wait.
That.
Cut that nigga off clean off. And I think what killed him though in that was the response. Instead of saying it don't matter, that nigga should have just gave something out there, bro.
You can't say that it don't
Greek,
matter.
Though. But look, the nigga said she was Greek later on. And I'm like, Greek?
Man, come on,
you was gonna die in that debate if you said she was Greek, bro. That was your dad right there.
Boy,
but that's it. But y'all keep forgetting that was the whole point of the debate.
Yeah.
That's why I debated him on that. I knew it was going to come out.
It had to be about maybe 3 knockouts in that one rapid fire. I mean, you had to stop the fight at that point. It was like, contradicting himself several times. I was picking up on all that shit. Like, nigga.
Well, maybe I need to write that.
Right down his time marker.
Man, fuck that debate. Season
What'd you say, Swab?
Hey, that's why I said fuck that debate.
It's season 4.
Hey, we were talking about your debate with Domo before you came back.
It's tough, man. That's all. I mean, so now so my thing is like, so like even when we deal with like the Civil Rights Act, we see that was like the second time that's around, because I think we see the first one is 1866, ain't it?
Yeah.
So what was the point of the second one?
Well, actually, that like when what was that, the 14th Amendment we were just talking about, all of that shit.
Yeah,
and they created the 14th Amendment. I think it was like the 14th and the 15th to so they could enact that first Civil Rights Act, because initially it was constitutional questions surrounding that motherfucker. So
well, like, the purpose of the second one was, they was manipulating the laws with even before Jim Crow, they had what they call the Black Codes. They would kind of use certain tactics to disenfranchise Black people. And Jim Crow would be still holding on to some of the traditions of the Black Code. So the second civil rights was, and the civil rights attorneys and the Jewish lawyers that was involved was trying to figure out strategies and to make it more equal, and they came up with challenging the separate but equal Plessy versus Ferguson decision. So that would be the purpose of the second civil rights movement. So the idea would be now trying to integrate, because the separate but equal wasn't working, proved to be a failure.
Integrate.
So what do we need now?
So this is the second attempt at integration. When we get this second Civil Rights Act, this is the second attempt at integration.
So what are we working on now? The third attempt?
No, this is probably the 8th attempt, nigga.
But hold on, but this is the continuation of the second attempt. I mean, we still in the second attempt.
No, this ain't no second attempt, bro. They no, because Plessy came after that. What you call the second attempt?
Appreciate you guys.
Nah, we talking about when we say the second attempt, we talking about the second Civil Rights Act was the second attempt.
Right. That's like 1870, ain't it?
No, that's the 1960s.
Second Civil Rights Act. The second one.
Yeah.
No, the second one was in the 1960s.
64. Yeah, we talking about like 1965.
The first one was 1866.
Okay, let me look here.
Yeah, the first one was in 1866. Remember, before that we were slaves.
So you know you bad with timelines.
So then the 1860s would be the first one. Everything before that would be slavery.
Right.
Unless you want to call slavery a form of integration. I mean,
no, I do. I consider slavery a form of integration.
Yeah. So that would be an argument, but
that was the beginning.
You didn't have rights though as a slave. So that I don't know.
Right. But I would say a simulation. I wouldn't say that's well, I don't know. Are you saying simulation and integration?
They differ. Assimilation and integration are not the same thing.
So I would argue more simulation and because being assimilated would mean being kind of accepted.
Well, integration is on. I mean, and when you're talking in terms of legislation, it's in the context of a form of equality. Like together,
and you can't get no like that.
What you say, bro?
I'm saying that the first one was 1864, second is 1866, third is 1875, and so on and so on. There are multiple civil rights acts. I just wanted to look and make sure. Yeah, there are multiple civil rights acts. 1965. God damn it, 1964 was just the right. And keep in mind, it was one after that.
You talking about? So you talking about the actual? Okay, you talking about the acts? Okay, yeah, from last year.
But I guess what we're saying is like the initial attempts, right? Because during the 1860s, that was the first attempt. So even though it was multiple civil rights acts,
the civil rights acts and the civil rights movement, I think it was like.
And I'm not even saying, I'm not even framing it in terms of the movement itself. I'm talking about the government's attempts the government's attempts to get people, to get these people like equal rights, right? Like that's why and that's why I said those civil rights acts were made to justify the 14th and the 15th Amendments. Like that was the initial purpose of that. Then when we talk about the second attempt, like a government attempt at integration, was in the 60s. No. You know what I'm saying? When they challenged Plessy,
No, it's not.
No, that's exactly what. Well, Domo said exactly what you put up though. Whoever put that up. The Civil Rights Act of 1875, sometimes called the Enforcement Act.
But this is the second act. This is the second. And what I'm saying
but that's what he's saying. That was in the context of the first. That's just talking about how to enforce the first act, right?
No.
The Civil Rights Act of 1875.
No, because
the Enforcement
what I'm saying is they were trying to protect Black people at this time. There was a concerted government effort to integrate the people. And so in the overall, what he's saying is correct. But what I'm trying to make y'all understand is they had to keep doing it because it wasn't working. So they had to keep upgraded on paper. So when we say how many civil rights acts were there aren't just two. That's all. That's, you know what I'm saying?
No, yeah, I agree with that. I thought you were talking about in the context of.
We're talking about social attempts at full attempts at integration. So like that's why when you mention those multiple acts that came out at that time, that was all in that attempt to get niggas to be like let things, like, you know what I'm saying, this is what we're doing to show that we're trying to integrate these people into our, you know what I'm saying, into this country. Like, right, this is the government, that these acts represent the government protecting the right to these people who was once enslaved.
Right.
That's why you had that language before 15.
Right now we have T-Duck's best argument out as well in the debate we just had.
But when we talk about what happened in the 60s though, the language that was introduced at that time, there's no more language that you can add that doesn't just straight explicitly say this is for black people, this is for, you know what I'm saying, these people, this is for these people. You feel me? Like there's no more language that can be added. There's no more acts. There's nothing else that the government can do beyond straight up putting the name of the people they talking about in the fucking amendment itself. You know what I mean?
More.
And so that's why. So when we talk about like, are we attempting to integrate today? Even Goldmine earlier called America a melting pot.
Yeah.
The mindset is there. Niggas,
I think it's a difference. I think we see that Irish and Germans and them integrated. I think when we look at it, we don't really see that.
Well, that's what the melting pot initially was. It wasn't really talking about like African. It was really talking about a different.
Right, that's what I'm saying. Yeah. That's why race has a role, bro. Like that's why race exists. It's just like there ain't nothing.
You know?
Nah, you right. Go ahead.
We gotta start separating no more.
Oh, okay. He was talking to me.
Damn, bro.
I was trying to figure out.
I didn't want to go into that.
Look, listen, listen. So
I gotta find a way to do it. Bro.
I was waiting, bro. I was waiting. I'm telling you. I was waiting.
I gotta find a way to slip it in, bro.
But like that's the, like when we look at like that mindset, that integration mindset, like you gotta understand, it ain't supposed to respond the same way. It ain't like black people and white people don't experience shit the same. They don't experience poverty. They don't experience being rich. They don't experience violence the same. The shit's not the same. So your integration not gonna be the same because of how you code it. Nigga, race is like a barcode, nigga. Once you get scanned, like everything that's scanned then determines the output. Like these factors dictate how this responds. So we are integrated down to like our identity, that black identity, the black identity was exported back to Africa. Niggas came like the Africans were kidnapped, brought to America. They was turned black, and then that black shit got exported back onto them. Like that's how that shit works.
That's how that shit happens.
And so and look, and then even with that, niggas ain't even treated the same. Because you got some Africans, they don't even fuck with niggas like that. Not to say that that's all of them, and not to.
No, you're right. It's the tribalism over there. Yeah, a lot of
that black shit. So when we get to that question of integration, just like how nothing else is the same when you introduce race, your integration not gonna be the same either. This is your role.
You know what I'm saying? But nobody's integration is the same though.
Yeah. And while it's on my mind, and I forget it, man, they're not required to respect us. I think that I want to know my biggest hang up.
They're not required to respect us.
They're not required to respect us, but we're expected to respect them. There's an expectation that we have respect for them, but nobody tells that shit to them, bro.
Yeah,
that's like telling your child to be slobbing all the time. Just act like your child that don't be slobbing, like, you know.
That's going back.
I'm saying it means something if your child that don't normally be slobbing all of a sudden start slobbing. You like, oh, this nigga trying to be funny, he's spitting on the floor. But if you got a child that already be slobbing and he got a problem,
You don't say nothing to him.
So how is it
with them? They be acting a fool. Don't nobody say nothing to them. You don't say nothing to them. Like,
hey man, go on with that shit.
What you saying? What you were saying, Yara?
I was saying for me when I look through, like integration culminated with Barack Obama when he was voted into office. Like we lost that argument for us ended. You know what I'm saying? For blacks, because that's the culmination of integration in this country. If you're talking about what white folks, what they gauge success as.
A great point, y'all.
What do you say now when you have Barack Obama, who's the leader of the country? He's our first quote unquote black president. So now that argument is over. So now what you have
they ran with it. They started calling it a post-racial America.
Right, and exactly, and then where you see it really ends, and this is the like sort of like the catch-22. Now, I think Domo brought it out. Now, black culture is really American culture. It's no longer black culture. You see what I'm saying? Like their music, our dance, our language. It's American culture.
Yeah.
You see what I'm saying? And white folks realize that they lost that.
Because remember when was there ever an Irish American president? You know, obviously we know outside of Kennedy. Outside of Kennedy.
Yeah, Kennedy was the only one.
He was the only one that was Irish. That was a big thing. That was a big thing,
bro. Yeah, America's washed, bro. When we talk about white people, the original white people were washed.
Facts, true.
But look, the man with the Obama thing though.
Mm-hmm.
White person can't tell me that one of their people, can give birth to a black man.
Okay.
They can't tell me that.
Okay.
Well, I mean, yeah, because there was really no real black president in a sense.
Hold on, y'all talking about me saying some shit. This nigga just said like there's no black woman said that that's my son as president. A black woman didn't say that.
Right.
Even though I slightly disagree with that position, I'm not gonna fight it.
I don't that though, bro, because I was insulted one time when somebody said your son could grow up to be president like Barack Obama. And I'm like, nigga, my son ain't like Barack Obama, dog. What the fuck you mean? My son got a black mother.
So they were trying to get, I think in the 90s, they were trying to get Colin Powell to run for president, but he refused.
So he didn't want that kind of person.
He
You think he would? I think he would have won if he would have ran for president.
I was elected.
They wanted him to run it. They didn't want Kerry. But who John Kerry? Hold on, D. Gregory won president, and they took that shit back from him. They didn't want them niggas in office.
Well, Jesse Jackson, and that's what I'm saying. Like that would be an African American president, like so quote unquote.
Colin Powell?
No, yeah. Jesse Jackson. Well, even Colin Powell would have been, Colin Powell.
I'm glad they didn't give us neither one of them, Jesse Jackson or Colin Powell, bro.
Colin Powell didn't want to have to deal with that weapons of mass destruction argument. He didn't want to have to deal with that.
Jesse would have did better than Obama.
What? Man, Madame, you so much, dude. I know you just got on here. How you doing with it? You so much.
Jesse went with Martin Luther King, nigga.
God. He the reason why Martin ain't here. What are you talking about?
Yeah, Martin.
He the reason why Martin ain't here.
Dr. King. He sang with Dr. King. Made freedom money with
There was no way Jesse was winning that election, bro.
No, there wasn't no way Jesse was winning that.
Why did you get away? You get on my nerves all the time. You get on my nerves. I mean, look, and this is how important it is. A black woman is to the first black president, to the concept of it. Mm-hmm. Barack Obama would not have been elected if it wasn't for Michelle Obama. Talk about it.
Agreed.
Period. Like you
Obama would have had a white wife,
oh hell no.
Oh yeah, he
if
would have called it.
Obama would have had a white wife, my nigga, hey, we would be free today.
But check out, you know the white bitch.
I didn't think about that one though.
The white bitch that he used to fuck with wrote a book and said that that's why they broke up.
Wow.
You hip to that?
Nope.
No.
Yeah, the white bitch said that Barack told her that, you know what I'm saying, that he has political aspirations and that being white will help him.
He was capping.
Why would she have to cap if she got pictures with the motherfucker and shit?
No, he showed in his biography that he was messing with a white woman when he was in college.
Yeah, it was like shit, nigga. That nigga knew. He ain't no dummy. I mean, if we know,
especially if he dealing with politics, he know the politics. Like,
I'm just saying, yeah, I thought on the one movie they made he was going to white girl, but I'm just saying, I don't know if he said that to her, but you said that.
No, I think he did.
Well, the movie was kind of insinuating like a disconnection, with what he was trying to find himself in.
Right, what you got to sugarcoat it for her? She know if anybody knows you can't get up here with me as your wife. Like, nigga, they probably went through shit with her daddy or her son. Like, you gonna run across something?
They had a scene where he was walking past Israelites and they started getting on him.
That was funny, though.
Oh, man, tell her like,
oh, that's foul.
I can't be with no white woman. I want to be something
They
bigger
went
than
in on Obama, too. Obama tried to get it. When they say, well, what is up?
They got on his head. They got on his head.
Mm-hmm.
Shit, I think Michelle Obama would have won if she ran, man.
It's
I would have rather than Michelle than
if she would have ran after him.
I
mean, this year in 2020 against Trump, she would have won.
How was she tied to anybody would have beat Trump, bro.
Right, so if she
would have ran right after Barack, she would have won.
Trump coming back 2020.
I say that all the time. Like they try to put Hillary on Trump. I think a black woman would have been able to deal with Trump better.
Bro, ain't no fucking way no black woman finna get elected.
We're coming back 2024. We coming
Y'all
back.
tripping.
What'd you say, Swell?
Ain't no way in hell no black woman gonna get elected. I don't give a fuck. After Obama,
I think if they'd have put him on the same ticket.
Hey, bro, listen, y'all underestimate the power and the influence of Michelle Obama. Michelle Obama bought out white women and black women in droves, unlike any other in history. Like, they was coming out 60, 70, 80%.
And I don't want to take nothing away from that, bro.
And it's that, like, bro, like,
that's a remarkable
we can't hear you,
thing.
Speak up.
She was, hey, bro, if she hadn't shut it down, bro, she would have ran for president, bro. Had she not shut it down, she would have won.
They started calling her Michael and shit. And she was a dude. Like, yeah.
Who was the running mate, though, y'all,
Oprah, nigga.
Oprah.
Oprah, and they would have lost that. We got to put somebody else there, bro.
Hey, they lost
she probably would have ran. She probably would have picked some white guy. I would have given her
she would have picked the white woman. She would have picked the white woman.
Yeah.
Her and Hillary. What about her and Hillary?
But they would have to switch it around because ain't no way Hillary's going to be no vice president over no.
You don't let Hillary anywhere near the White House.
It'd be like Elizabeth Warren or something. It would be like Elizabeth Warren.
Wait. Let's not play the game now. Hillary was there, nigga. Trump didn't just trounce her, nigga.
Yeah. I think she had the popular vote, right? She had the popular vote.
Yes, she won the popular vote. She needed a name, bro. She needed somebody next to her.
Hillary Clinton was going to get nowhere near.
Bro, Tim Kaine. No. Like, Yara, I disagree, bro. Tim Kaine is what fucked over that election. If she would have had like a Cory Booker, like somebody that has even Cory Booker, right? I think Cory Booker is the biggest cornball in Congress, nigga. That when he made that motherfucking Tyrone and T-Bone, nigga.
Yeah,
nobody named no fucking T-Bone, nigga. Shut the fuck up.
Yeah, bro.
He a nigga though.
Yeah.
Hillary Clinton and Cory Booker, nigga. I would have like
Booker.
But yeah,
I mean, because Cory Booker is Obama light. That's all he was. Niggas was still on that Obama high. What fucked up the Obama high was Hillary Clinton. That's what fucked it up.
Yeah, facts.
You know what I'm saying?
I think when Obama passed the Davis, that would fuck them up.
Tim Kaine brought nothing.
Nothing, nigga. But bro, how you lose a vice presidential debate to a corpse, nigga?
Ain't no way in hell they put a black woman in the White House. Fuck all that.
Yeah.
Ain't no way in hell they got.
Right, I don't know what they're talking about, Swab.
I don't want to take nothing away from all the progress that we did see and the monumental numbers. They not finna put a black woman in the presidential seat, bro.
I could kind of agree with that, Swab.
She's going to do something.
But because they would have,
like, come on, bro.
Yeah, I would have to agree.
Before we the rest of these motherfuckers.
You said what, go man?
Oh no, bro.
I said if they was gonna do it,
like that.
if they was gonna do it, I'm just saying like it ain't gonna be no black woman.
The opportunity that we missed was this one right here.
Let me tell y'all something, man.
Hold on. And this is why. This is why.
By American standards, it's a black woman in the White House right now.
I said presidential seat.
Yeah.
No, but upgraded it, bro. Because she's a Joe Biden death away from being there, bro.
Right. Hold on. And that's what. And that's what.
And that's not that far fetched.
And that's what I was about to say.
Motherfuckers already see now.
You gotta understand.
It's gonna be Nancy Pelosi.
The more popular the one president is with their base, the more pissed off the other motherfuckers get. Obama's popularity made Trump possible. Yep. Trump being hated damn near unanimously across the board, bro. Across the board. You can't piss white people off. You can't piss them off like that. You can't say fuck John McCain, nigga.
No, you
What's wrong with you? You can't
shit on the vets, dog.
Yeah,
man, I can't. That nigga was a turd.
Hold on. I know. Go. We talking about a different standard. Though. We're talking about a different standard. And so, do y'all know the last time we had a one-term president? Y'all know the last time we had a one-term president?
I know.
Hey, that's fact.
You feel me? And so that meant though, shit was in such an uproar, right? That if we was gonna do any fucking thing, bro, to take advantage of it, it was this motherfucker.
You hear me?
It was this one.
Obama was.
But what happened was, and I'm gonna say this, and you got to swallow. What happened was, moderate fucking Democrats appealed to niggas' comfortability.
Yep.
Niggas, Donald Trump has shook shit up so much that niggas wanted normal back. But no, we don't want normal back.
No, you don't.
Right.
We don't want regular. Joe Biden and Kamala Harris give you regular. We didn't want that.
Lock your ass to sleep.
Because then you go back and you gotta ask what made Trump possible. Niggas getting used to the regular. The post-racial Obama America. That's what made Trump possible.
Yep.
Obama was your pacifier.
As the sun.
Obama was your pacifier to shut you up as a black woman. Kamala Harris is your pacifier to shut you up as a black woman. You showed up. You showed out. Look what happened. Back to business. It's back to business. And they both got dual purposes. It's never one thing. But just because all black people ever get is hope, belief. We get something to look at, and our imagination and our ignorance and our righteousness makes us create a world where this actually means something. Kamala Harris being in that don't mean shit. It didn't mean shit, bro.
Kamala Harris getting in that White House undermines the entire point you tried to make, is all I'm telling you. So,
that's a sentence you said. That means nothing to me. When I'm looking at the uniformity of what they do, no matter both of them could pop. You could put two puppets in the presidential seat. I know who calls the orders. Trump was not a politician, but yet he became president of the United States. Where the fuck do you not need at least some goddamn experience for a job? They are puppets, bro. The people who are making the decisions been making the decisions.
That's too much for them, Swab. Don't give them the steak, man. They still babies, bro.
It's the same people.
You're right about
it's
that.
The same
don't give them steak, Swab. Just give them baby food, Swab. Don't give them all that. They can't handle that.
That's the excuse to not read or study or know anything.
Man, chill out.
That's what that is. I mean, once you undermine the entire system by saying they all puppets, just fuck it after that.
The president,
That's what I've seen my entire
of
life.
the United States.
Let me ask you this, Domo. Why do you think Biden didn't pick Stacey Abrams?
To be honest, I don't think Stacey Abrams wanted it.
You don't think she wanted it bad enough?
Trump didn't want it. That don't
I
mean
don't think she
nothing. Once
wanted
they
it.
picked your ass, they picked your ass.
Because the thing about Stacey Abrams is like, nigga, did you see what I just did here in Georgia? I'm running for president. You got me fucked up. Because like the thing about Kamala is she got a reputation that she got to fix. Yeah. That was the whole shit. Like both her and Joe Biden are pretty much dealing with heavy scrutiny because of their past with law enforcement and criminal justice. They both did fucked up shit. Right? So the whole thing, like Biden knew he was only gonna serve one term. He old as fuck. Mm-hmm. That's why they was even concerned about having Kamala on there, because it was like, well, shit, she just gonna be trying to. We know what she wants. Is she only gonna be trying to position herself, or is she gonna help us build a legacy for President Biden? You know what I mean? That's why you don't see her ass. That's why she's silent.
She ain't making no gaffes. She keep her mouth shut.
And for two reasons. One, the Biden admin, like y'all said, less mistakes. Don't put yourself in a position where you got to say some shit that you don't need to. But in Joe Biden, on Joe Biden's behalf, he's like, we don't want to be seen as deferring to the black woman when we talking about shit that got to do with black people. So they both trying to prove some shit. And to be honest, they relying on getting back to an older status quo for people to feel comfortable. You know what I'm saying? Even though ain't shit changed, kids still in cages. And this is why this is where the liberal media kind of, I hate using that phrase because of the other people that deploy that language, but this is where that shit gets, you know what I mean, like obvious, because you still got kids in cages. You still got people separated from their families. Why the fuck are we not hearing about this couple? It was just some big shit that came out about the kids being in that motherfucker molested.
Yep.
We talking about a year after George Floyd. You know what I'm saying? So it's like, you know, niggas was so fucked up. Donald Trump lowered the bar so much that niggas just brought it back not even barely to what it was. Because listen, you gotta think back. We just went back to a white president, an old white president. We had a nigga, we had a celebrity, and now we got an old white man. All it did was just reset right back to what it was. You know what I mean? Stacey didn't want to be a part of that. Stacey didn't want to be a part of that.
Who else they was gonna use?
You ain't had no nigga president, but I think once we have a real nigga,
I mean, shit, you had Andrew Yang. That nigga was getting up there saying some wild shit. Elizabeth Warren was getting up there saying some wild. There were a bunch of different candidates that could have like really been like, all right, we about to shit about to be look different around this motherfucker. You had Andrew Yang up there talking about universal income.
Hell yeah.
I mean, but what he had won the election is what I'm saying.
Yeah, I mean, but that's the thing. You never think who will win the election until it's won, right? Mm-hmm. Like when you look at the electorate, it's really a question of like the establishment candidate. Because the biggest problem that people have with like especially like black people and the older black voters who come out and vote at the highest rates, they did not fuck with Bernie Sanders at all because they was uncomfortable. They don't understand socialism. That was bad. So it's scary. So that was dumb. Niggas don't understand socialism, so it scares them. We watch too many movies. The Russians, the socialists, they come take our freedoms. We too caught up in that shit, so that fucked them over. You know what I mean?
We take on the politics of
Let me say this about Stacey Abrams before y'all get away from it. Now, Stacey Abrams does not have national appeal. White men would never elect her on a national level because she's pushing that LBGT shit. So white men are not going to elect a black woman pushing that movement. I don't see that.
Yeah, but bro, like white men and black people in general routinely like vote like in opposite directions. So it's a question of can she get the other motherfuckers? Because once Obama won and he lost, and he didn't win the majority of the white vote, niggas was like, oh yeah, we got to bust this shit open. That's why they have to get the vote. That's why they have to limit turnout. The Republican approach is now these niggas can't be voting like this.
You talking about the first election? But bro, that's Sarah Palin shit though, bro. That's really under, that gets underrepresented when we talk about the Obama election.
You said something about Stacey Abrams.
That nigga went up against a dead man walking and Sarah Palin, bro. Like, you know what I'm saying?
Hold on, it's but it was a black man though, bro. It was a black man. You feel me?
No. Obama was fucking awesome when that first election. I voted. That's the only time I ever voted. Was for Obama the first. He was fucking awesome, bro. He convinced my black ass, bro. That motherfucker convinced my black ass. Yeah. I gotta give it to him on that first one, man. He was like, "Yes, we can." That movie, that shit was inspiring, bro.
Oh, and a large part of the reason that white men are panicking the way that they panicking is because the LGBTQ motherfuckers is getting more power than them. They coming up on power.
But they coming up on influence. So why would they try to stop them?
You feel me?
Like, yeah, I would agree. I disagree on power.
Well, influence. Let me say, I say influence.
Well, how do you move shit around without the influence though? That's the start of gaining power.
Because their influence has to be a part of a larger coalition. Like for when Obama beat John McCain, they called it the Obama coalition.
Okay, I see what you're saying.
It was a bunch of different voting blocks that had never voted together before.
As far as I'm concerned, they are part of their agenda, so I don't see why Stacey Abrams wouldn't get in. Like, I think she'll get in if anybody, if she pushing that shit.
Yeah, I mean,
she ain't pushing it up on white people, she pushing that shit on black people. Like, what is they gonna be mad
majority,
for?
You see
what I'm saying? Y'all right? Like,
that shit
well,
I think people vote for Stacey Abrams.
You missing what I'm saying. That's the mission. For them to have that shit pushed on black people, that's the mission. They don't care about her pushing LGBT on us.
Well,
you hear me? They don't care.
I think one of the biggest factors was her natural hair, and she was about 80 pounds overweight.
Yeah, it had to be something else. Yeah, I was like, hold on.